Read what?
I was just gauging signature neatness because I think signature neatness is an important
Really?
aspect of
Really?
representation of our democratic institutions.
Really?
Mike's over there dying.
Good. It's definitely, of course, it's
I guess-
beautiful.
I guess there is no memo.
And then
on
there's
these
mine.
things, is there?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
on the check itself.
No, it's
This whole
this
thing goes to them.
right here.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
cool.
they get that. But yeah, which can I sign it after the meeting, I guess?
Yeah, I could do it during, but then I'd be distracting from what's going on. I'll wait. You heard from Brian or Justin or Brett?
Nope.
Go ahead and get this started. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
a call to order. Michelle,
Here.
Annie.
Here.
Brett, Justin, Tim. Something. Thank you. I'm not using it, are you?
No, it's okay. Go
I
ahead.
can go get one.
If you are, we'll get another.
Right-handed pen.
I'm left-handed. Okay.
It's got the blood of my enemies in it. So
All right.
careful there.
All right.
Blue-blooded.
Yep.
Just don't steal this one.
You guys go ahead and take that one, right?
Thanks.
Proprietary interest.
I got you. I got you on that. Everyone had a chance to read over the minutes.
You haven't changed the agenda. Mary, I don't think it's missed it, that
I move to approve the agenda with the addition of a 15-minute executive session for
one. 50 minutes under mayor council concerns. After being shot.
Okay. You want to do it after the mayor and council concerns or comments?
Yeah, that's what
That would be
it doesn't matter.
I second it.
Okay, a motion on the floor to accept the agenda as written with the addendum of an executive session for 15 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Attorney counsel,
Attorney Klein.
attorney client. Gotcha. Okay, we also have a seconded it. Any discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? 3-0. Okay. Approval of the minutes of February 28th.
move to approve.
I second.
A motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? 4-0. Next up is the approval of the appropriation ordinance 1495.
There was one check that was written that's
It's
not
not on
on
here.
there.
Okay.
It'll be on the next, cause it's when I update, but that's the memorial check,
Okay.
for Randy Kim.
All right, so just so the council knows, I authorized a memorial check today for Fire District Number 5 in the amount of $100 for the memorial for Randy Kemp in memory of him. Okay, and that will be on the next.
Correct.
Okay,
I move to approve appropriation ordinance 1495.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, correct?
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Brett.
Yes.
Okay, public concerns or comments right at this time? Okay. Mike, you're up for department reports.
Okay, just a couple things. Gas department, we had a leak about a half mile south of Headwaters Road last week on a portion of the above ground feeder line. It was brought to my attention when landowners started burning pasture and they actually heard the leak. Very small hole, but it was making noise. Went down, it's band clamped right now. It's under control, it's not leaking. There was a portion, I'd say probably a 3 to 4 inch oval portion on the side of the line that was extremely pitted, extremely corroded. Not sure what caused that. I've got depths on everything. Could have been a bad spot in the pipe. Not sure. We're going to do a more intensive visual survey on the leak survey last year, I believe that line was surveyed. There were no leaks found, so it is developed since then. Try to do a better visual survey on the above ground portions, which is hard in some spots because it's above ground, but about half of it's kind of in the ground in places, and see if we can see anything else. I suppose could have been a lightning strike at some point in time, caused some corrosion. There's no AC current on the pipe, which is a bad thing. Negative DC current is a cathodic protection. The CP is good on the pipe as far as protecting it, and the below ground piping if there were any exposed portions. So I'm not sure why that happened. Just so you're aware, if we do get into stuff or if we find more of this or we have more leak go up, some of that replacement might be needed sooner than later if possible, or could be possible that might be needed sooner than later. But I will keep you updated on that. Water. Whoop, go
How
ahead.
many miles line are you talking about?
Well, it's split up in pieces where there's new poly and old steel. They've carried the cathodics across on cables in a couple of spots to carry that protection. There is approximately 8 to 9 miles of above ground left, I believe. Which will eventually completely be replaced. But yeah, the pipe, I mean, very little of it I've seen exposed, the portions that were actually buried when it was put in the 60s. Those portions, I mean, the coating's in great shape, the pipe's in great shape, all of that stuff. The above ground stuff, of course, the coating's gone because sunlight and burning pasture, all that stuff. But the pipe itself is usually relatively in good shape. This very well could have just been a bad spot in the pipe, but it's a very odd sized pipe. That's why we keep the stuff that we've taken out, a lot of it down at the shop for emergencies, like if KDOT hits the line, because you cannot match up the size of pipe. The wall thickness is unique. They don't make pipe like that anymore. It's very hard to match that up. Like I said, we have a band clamp on it right now. I will either weld a wire over and hook onto that band clamp to provide it protection. That is a requirement. It is above ground. It can be checked. It can be monitored a lot easier than below ground, depending on how that goes. Or the other option, I may have NPL come and weld a pumpkin around that, because right now the leak stopped. They basically have a 2-piece pumpkin, is what they call it, that goes, they build it, it covers a band clamp, and then they weld that together and then weld it to the pipe, so then it becomes a permanent repair. I don't think that's required right now. If I provide protection to the band clamp, the KCC shouldn't have any problem with it. But at this point, we'll see. Water plant, it's running okay. It's requiring more frequent adjustments, chemical adjustments than usual. I'm not sure why. I don't know that the water's changing the temperature, and temperatures come up a couple degrees in the last 2 or 3 days, actually, as far as the lake temperature coming in the intakes. It's not a real big swing. I don't know what's going on there for sure. If filters are having issues or what, just to keep our turbidity where it needs to be. But it's doing okay. I just started jar testing today on a new polymer that Hawkins brought us here a couple 3 weeks ago, actually, maybe close to a month ago. Did a first trial run today in jar testing. I'm going to try to do some more of that tomorrow, next week. If we have time, get a plan together on a first formula to use and do a trial run for about 2 weeks on that polymer and see if we can find something from Hawkins that will work better. They've been a lot more competitive in the market. Their logistics are much better than Brentag right now. We're having trouble with Brentag, who's been our polymer supplier for several years now, getting the stuff, getting it made. It comes out of St. Louis and they keep throwing it on third-party trucks, hauling trucks. Guys can't back their trucks. And I said that, I think, last meeting I was at. It's been a big issue with them on getting product and price increase after price increase. So kind of fed up with that too. I did meet last week or the end of the week before, actually, I believe, with BG Consultants, an engineer named Paul Owens, I believe. Owens. He is Paul.
No,
BG Consultants is one of the engineers I was going to talk to about our possible water plant upgrade. I'm very impressed with him. He is currently the lead engineer that's taking care of Rural Water District 8, Osage 8, who buys the majority of our water from us. He knows their system pretty good. Came out, met with him, showed him the plant, walked around, showed him the intake, showed him the land, showed him the area we own, and talked about some things. He mulled it over for about a week. The end of last week, he called me back and we had a long conversation. Right now, our plant, and I'll try to make this quick, but just some basic info. Our plant operates okay at 250 gallons a minute. We run it at about 275. It doesn't like that a whole lot. Bumped it to close to 300 gallons a minute. The plant does not like it at all. The design on our current plant, to my knowledge, it was 350 gallons a minute is what it should do. It will not do that. A 350 gallon a minute plant is a gallon a day. That's when they design a plant that's off of MGD, million gallons a day. You know, whether it's a quarter, a half, one. There's plants in Kansas City that do 40 million, 50 million gallon a day. 250 gallon per minute is what our plant will actually do, is about a third of a million gallon per day. Going over kind of what we think we need, maybe Rural 8 taking more, potential growth. What do we want to do? We was thinking, well, maybe we build you a million gallon a day plant. You could run it at half capacity, maybe bump it up to 3/4 capacity. Everything would be good depending on how much water people needed seasonally. Coming back, complete ballpark, shot me like $9 to $12 million. I thought, oh my God, that's a lot of money.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Well, and that's the thing, and not to get into a bunch of details right now that we talked about, I kind of want to just give you big facts, but contracting, just bid numbers coming in the last 365 days are up 25 to 30% because contractors that have jobs can't find competent help to complete the jobs. There's less guys out there bidding the jobs because they can't commit to the jobs. I mean, it's getting thinner and thinner, and you go into a job where you might normally have 6 or 8 guys bid it. You might have 2 guys bid it, and they know that. Not to mention the price of everything, depending on what you get into with USDA, US Pipe and Steel, tons of factors we don't need to get into. But I mean, that's a million gallon a day plant. The thing is, if we spend $12 million on a plant, is our water affordable from us? 500 gallon a minute from us. If it can even be feasible, they might be like, well, heck, Topeka is cheaper now, so have fun with that. Run it at 250 gallon a minute. Anyway, we talked back maybe, okay, right now we're running at about a third. If we built, say, a 3/4 million gallon a day plant, we bump it up a little bit. 3/4 million gallons a day I'm talking actual, the plant will actually do it. We oversize clarifiers. We have redundancy in there. If we have to take something down, work on it. We don't have short circuiting issues that we do now. We have time for the water to settle, for the chemicals to work. A 3/4 million gallon a day plant is about 520 gallons a minute. And they're pulling 4 something off of Topeka right now. And that's not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that they pull that. And it's based off of that per day in a 24-hour period. or 1,440 minutes.
It's number one Shawnee.
Huh?
That's number one Shawnee is pulling that, or?
That's 8 pulling off of Shawnee. Shawnee 3, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And they pull about 86 gallon minute off of us right now. So he thought, well, maybe if we do that, if we're careful, I mean, maybe 6 to 9 million. And I mean, this is literally, and most guys wouldn't ballpark this to you. And I mean, I just appreciated that. And those are not firm numbers. We may be 2-3 million off. I mean, could be cheaper. When we figure out actually what we need, what we're going to build, how we're going to build it, where we're going to build it. What we did talk about, and I told him that I would mention it to you tonight. We'd talk it over maybe here a month from now, if you want him to come down and talk, just to meet him, which very knowledgeable, very easy to talk to. He did say a study. If we did do a study, he thought it'd be around $15,000 to do the study. Talk about the district usage, the future district needs, current district needs, district, I mean, Roy, LWID, Waubonsee 1, the water districts, our needs, our potential, growth or anything like that, potential water rights, what's actually there, in 18, when it got really dry, our intakes were proved to us there that they weren't put in correctly. They weren't deep enough. There's a lot of water left. There's not water we could get to. We definitely addressed that in my conversation about where the intakes go, things like that, and kind of how Osage pulls out of Melbourne. They're very, very low. They pull, probably think 40, 50 foot deep or so. Now, 5 years from now, say we start this, we do a study. Okay, well, heck, we want to hire them. We start doing plans. All right, 5 years from now, what's it going to do? I mean, it might go down, up, it might stay the same. I would hope that in 5 years, things may begin to recover a little bit as far as staffing, possible some supply chain issues, stuff with that. The thing to benefit, and he did mention this, he goes, there are places that will spend the money to go ahead and do this, not knowing if they can actually feasibly do it at the time, but plans being on the shelf have something to say. There's a lot of weird money that's coming around, infrastructure money that we don't know how it's going to be allocated yet, that's been approved from the feds. If you had them on that, and when they tell you about it, it's like, hey, here's this money, we've got $40 million to spend. And you have 25 days to submit your application, and we need plans. We need engineered plans.
That's the same thing as USDA kayak
Yep.
meetings, all that stuff. You have to have a PER
Yep.
before you can go in there. And if you have that, it could be options. It could be, one in column A, one in column B. But
CDBG is something to go after too, but that's $600,000. $600,000 is a ton of money. When you're talking to knock 600,000 off of 9 million, it's
it
not
looks
so
like
much money.
preliminaries in the infrastructure bill are showing that the first flush of money was to Kansas revolving loan funds for water and wastewater,
They
which
do
means they
that.
up the loan forgiveness portion of that, which is they used to, basically loan you that, but they will forgive 30% of the debt upon completion. And I'm not quite sure how that relates into USDA funding, but I think they did it at 25 like that, where they just basically got big loan, got a third of it off, and then that third was in financed through USDA. So and that's separate grants or whatever else you can get. So
Yeah, and that's what he said. They try to go after everything they can, and they've got a lot of. He had some examples of projects, and they've got a lot of grant funding off stuff. They have quite a bit of staff to actually do this. It's a full office, from people just doing the research to the engineers to the office people. I think they really do get stuff done. Now it goes to that, like USDA, like Todd was talking on our sewer project. It's just for Eskridge. At the end, depending on what it costs, USDA, it's like, well, we can probably guarantee you this much grant funding right now. We'll guarantee you financing. If it comes out, it costs this much, and your user rate's going to be kind of unsustainable to the customer, they'll do everything in their power to go out and try to find some more forgiveness or grant funding. Now that's just for Eskridge. Where it gets tricky here is we have a water plant that we sell water to 3 water districts in the city of Eskridge. USDA, he thought, might be a little iffy, going, okay, well, you've got all this water, you have a product to sell. It might be a little harder to get some USDA forgiveness or grant dollars on that. but maybe not. I mean, it's possible. And he said it muddied the water a little bit. he thought.
I don't understand the difference between that and the water district that sells water to 3 cities.
Right.
I got Post Rock, they sell water to 10 different municipalities.
And they get the money on
And they
behalf
get-
of those
yeah.
municipalities to maintain their plant and their infrastructure.
Well, they used to.
Well,
Until
it
they
was
defaulted
built.
on the loan and then USDA threw them out the window, but
Well, let's not repeat that.
maybe
Anyway.
that's why they're shy about it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
The one thing I want to touch on, I know it's a lot. Okay, so the grant funding, I mean, it's out there. It would take a while. The other option is to create a public wholesale. Now, he thought for public wholesales, the funding really opens up in his experience. If you're going to create a public wholesale to serve all of these entities, which would be Waubonsee One, Osage, LWID, and the city of Eskridge, we would be an entity that was served by the public wholesale. The city would not own the water plant. The city would not operate the water plant. The public wholesale then would own and operate the water plant and retire the debt. So I'm not super keen on that idea at this point. I don't know. I mean, if for some reason a whole bunch of funding would open up and you could create a public wholesale and get 3/4 of this thing paid for, it would be in everybody's best interest. But somebody's going to have to work for the public wholesale. And when you get into, I mean, in my opinion, if you get into more of a specialized deal like that in a public wholesale and a board's created and this and that, you're going to be looking for operators, and those operators are probably going to make substantially more than we're making right now for a Class 2 surface water treatment certification. So who's going to work for the public wholesale, and who's going to work for the city of Eskridge?
You can contract out something prohibiting the public wholesale from contracting out somebody to do the service, even if it's a city.
Hmm.
So you could technically have 2 hats and work, but it raises. There's still definitely an additional layer of bureaucracy
Hmm.
and all that jazz, which
Rate setting and this and that, and
Yeah,
everybody's,
it's just-
everybody's contract wouldn't need to be redone, which they do now. I mean, I really do think they do now. Everybody needs to, all this stuff between how one was brought on and LWID was brought on and Rural 8 was brought on, and it was done very strangely how everything's written. So, I mean, that will happen and needs to happen. Who's paying for what? Who's responsible for what? Whether it's city owned like it is now or a public wholesale. Lot more to learn on that. That is the gist of it, which took probably longer than I anticipated it to, but there's a lot to think about there. Really, what I would think about right now is maybe getting their services for a study and to get more so they know more, they learn our system. I mean, they know what Rural 8 needs. They're doing upgrades now. They've got portions of their system that want to grow that they will not give a new meter to, undersized line. He knows what they need to do. Pump stations, we did talk about that as far as our emergency water supply plan. They've got a pump station they would just have to rework, and we would have to put basically a bypass in our meter pit out here to meter the water back to us in an emergency situation for them to still have. I mean, they still plan to have a contract for a minimum draw off of Shawnee 3 to pull water and push it this way to keep us in pressure, Waubonsee 1 in pressure, LWID in pressure. We got to maintain 20 pounds. We don't have to supply the world, but if we, had a tornado hit the water plant, my plan right now is I call Waubonsee County Emergency Management, and National Guard starts hauling tankers and pumping them into our tower. I mean, that's literally all we can do. And we are going to be in a boil order. We're not going to maintain 20 pounds. We're just going to make our best effort. So, I mean, that's what it is. So we talked about a lot of stuff with Rural 8. So, I mean, there is a ton of stuff to go through, but no decision tonight. Think about maybe we should do a study, maybe not. Think about some questions. Maybe here in a month, we'll invite Paul if we have time, depending on how the agenda works, because I think 20, 30 minutes of his time would be, beneficial to listen to him and maybe have some questions lined out and ask him. It's definitely something to think about moving forward. So I'll stop.
Very good. Anything else?
No, I will slide this under a purchase request. It's a formality if you guys choose it, some of the ARP funding, or we could do it now. Some of the stuff that I brought to you a month ago. This is for the turbidimeter portion. I'd wanted to do the turbidimeters at the water plant, the backwash pump at the water plant, and the AMI meter read system. When I just asked about moving forward with getting that stuff, I had Hawk rebid that, and that's what I've got.
You know about that new grant that they had that, I forget what they called it. I should have looked at it before I came in here, but it involved water. And I thought there was one in there, it's like water projects. And then there was another that was like controls and communication. So kind of got me thinking SCADA, and that's, AMI metering and stuff like that.
Seems like I just read
I can
something.
go back and look at that and try to see what it is, but it's just like, in my mind, it's like, well, could we apply for that grant? And then could we, if we're able to use, then we have ARP
Mhm.
money to use elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Get
fine.
some other, number 2, 3, and 4 on the list or whatever instead of just number 1. But that's,
Mhm.
let me try to go back.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, this quote, I don't foresee it changing a lot. This quote will expire the 24th of March.
I don't know that there's not a reason to go forward with it either. I mean, I think we can always decide after the fact that, hey, if we get this grant, then, we just shift
Mhm.
course and we use that to pay for it.
Yeah.
And,
That's possible. Yeah, I mean, we're
Yes.
talking logistics on this. It would probably be 3 weeks to a month before we would even receive this and or pay for it. I would think. I don't know. They might have them in stock. I don't know. No, and we can put this off. I am having issues with our finished water turbidimeter at the plant. They just calibrated them the 22nd of February, I believe, and everything was good for about 2 weeks, and it's getting wonky again. I'm doing a lot of bench testing, trying to verify it, and I'm getting weird readings. And that's just the process equipment that monitors it constantly. So we're having issues with what we have now, which they are becoming unserviceable. Once they exhaust the parts and pieces they have for our current meters, they will not service them anymore. They're not manufacturing stuff. So, but yeah, another 2 weeks, month won't hurt. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like I saw something too about SCADA. I can't remember what I was looking at.
yeah, USVR Water Smart Small Scale Water Efficiency Projects grant. And I think it was the end of April when it went to April 28th. So basically, but applicants may request up to $100,000 for projects which could be completed within 2 years. It's on grants.gov, whatever the heck that is. I guess it's the government website.
It's a fun road to nowhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, try to get on it.
Been there, done that.
I even set up alerts, but I never did get alerted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they had municipal metering on there. They had supervisory control, SCADA, data acquisition, or whatever that acronym is.
50/50 cost share funding. I mean, you could use a portion of the ARP as long as it's not debt retirement. You could use that for your cost share, I believe.
Yeah.
On
So
another grant. Pressure money.
no, not a bad deal if we can lever up. I think we were all kind of in agreement anyway that we were moving forward with AMI. So I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah, those 3 products, I just wanted clarification that I was still going to have this re-quoted. I've got Alexander's hunting us a pump head for the backwash pump, which that is honestly really important right now to have that. I backwashed today at the plant, and it's losing a lot of water out of the pump head right now. It's getting bad. I just wanted to make sure that we were kind of still all thinking the same direction before I went out and started getting these people working again. So yeah, we can hold off on this for a little bit if you want. I mean, we're looking at 13,800 maximum. This 856 per meter, which is a total of $2,568. There will be some of that prorated because that is for the yearly service agreement, which we already have on our current turbidimeters. This is a little more, but they would prorate what we've already paid for, so it would come in a little bit less. But once they figure out when we actually do it and when they start servicing the new equipment, that number will be day to day. But
I guess that wasn't it. Is that supposed to be in the packet or Or
No, I
provision
just,
meter or-
no,
Oh, okay.
no, that's what, no, I just had this here.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything to ask Mike? Comments? Okay, Mike, thank you for your report. Next up, Stephanie, you have the floor.
I don't have much. You guys have a treasurer's report, and then just a reminder, you guys are doing a walkthrough with the EPA and the kid called me today to see if we had something to project for their presentation. I said, no, we don't. And they were wondering about whether or not you guys are wanting to have it here or at the senior center where there's more room. I said I didn't know, and
It's actually gonna depend on how many people show up
okay, so you're just gonna decide
Well,
that.
at that time.
Okay,
But
that's
right now,
perfectly
somebody's
fine.
coming from the
As-
EPA, do you know?
He didn't say no.
Okay.
He did not say.
Why is EPA coming?
They're doing a walk through the city
Brown,
for the,
Oh, gotcha.
Brownfield, yeah.
and right now I only know of one resident that's coming. That's Carrie Cross.
What was the date on that?
It's next Monday. It's at 4:00, and then the work session's gonna be at 5:30. Is what you guys decided.
Yeah.
I need to talk to you about that.
Okay, the projected walkthrough is an hour and a half, by the way. That's what, just so you guys know.
What's their scope of what they're doing? Do you guys know as far as like just the Main Street buildings? Are they doing residences? What's their?
As far as I know, it's just gonna be the Main Street buildings.
Actually, I think that they're extending it like to something like the school because they mentioned that several
Well, they
times.
did mention the school, yeah.
I kind of wanted that too. Okay.
I would think it's open game for anything in town personally when they come through here,
Like the big house.
What time is it?
possibly. All we gotta do is ask them
The
when they show
walkthrough's
up.
at 4, and then your work session's at 5:30.
They
And
definitely
then,
need to work.
so if you guys want to, or if someone wants to get in touch with someone at the senior center to have a key just in case,
That's
might do that.
Great idea.
I don't know.
will not be
I'd say if
available on
we're,
Monday, so.
I'd say if we're planning on having a lot, let's avoid the awkward walk down there and starting late. I don't know. I'd just be for going ahead and convening down there, but that's. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if there's enough interest, I don't know. Maybe we'll know. Do we have to set that ahead of time? Do we have to set the
What's the
location
seating
or-
capacity in here? Do you know off the top of your head? Not
I don't
quickly.
think very
but
much.
down here. Pardon me,
About
15?
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comfortably, or-
And if there's five of them from Wabunsee County, we've got 10. Jerry, you coming?
Probably.
Now we're down to 8. Okay, we can have the contingency plan to go to the senior citizen center if we have to.
Yeah, do you have to designate that, or that's a work session?
You just put on there.
Just give the notice to people that that's where the meeting's gonna be.
I thought we just put it on the door last
The
time.
session.
and Had it as a backup.
Yeah, I guess legal.
Because
I don't think we did
Okay.
anything too crazy.
That's all I have.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Assuming it's available.
Yeah.
Annie,
Okay. First and foremost, the easy part is that we're having bingo night coming up. So we're doing just 4 of these this year. March 25th, which is Friday night. Doors are open at 6 and we start playing bingo at 7. It's just $10 to play. So these are the kind of things that we do to have operating funds so that we can do events and our bigger events to fundraise, and then it pays for our mailers and things that we do outside of the actual events.
I'm sorry, I write slowly.
You're fine. March
When and what time?
March 25th. Here, I'll just give it to you.
I mean, the times and location.
Oh, and I'm sorry. It's at the senior center this year. So speaking of, we want it in town, and it's a toss up because it's hard to get enough space. But that's where we decided that we're gonna try it out.
are you aware that you can put that event notice on the Alma Signals community webpage?
I didn't know I could put it on their website, but I did have the paper and I need to put it in. I'm just late right now, but
You say you don't need to put it in, or you
no,
didn't?
I didn't know I could put it on the webpage.
I'm not. I may have
Not
told you wrong.
webpage,
I may have told you
Okay.
the wrong thing.
No, you're right. Alma Signal, yes.
But
They do
have
they do a calendar on the side, yeah.
Right.
So I'll make sure that gets in there this week too. The other is actually that we've been working on playground. So we went through a process of selecting a playground rep. We just went through 3 like local guys that are not local. I'm sorry. 2 that have worked locally, and then a third that was interested in working with us. Local for playground is 2 hours away usually. So each one of them, we gave them a budget, and then they presented us with a design, and we chose from that. So we don't have the design yet because we're still working on exactly what we want and the color scheme. But I'm hoping that next meeting, I know it's late, but that I can present that design for you guys' approval, and then we can start moving forward. Because at this point we have about just shy of 70,000. I don't know exactly. I need to go get the report in our KRCF account, which is our donor funding. And we spent all of last year trying to look into grants and options that we could do. We even applied for several smaller grants and looked into a large grant that ended up not being as large as we really needed it to be. So it did not happen. Because of COVID, I mean, a lot of the stuff turned from community building to like emergency relief funding. So it's been very difficult to find anything that fits our process. There are things that are kind of vaguely on the edge of maybe what we could use, but at the end of the day, they really want somebody or something that fits their grant requests better. So it lessens our chance of actually getting the funding, and then it gives us a whole bunch of hoops to jump through, like having health things to do in the park, just random things like that. But sorry, long story short, we decided that we had enough funding as it is to go forward with a playground. And that's what I'm hoping you guys will all agree with as well. The one thing is that it hangs us up on surfacing. So 70,000, the best we can do is mulch, which is not ideal because it needs replacement or needs, so, you know, every year you add more, and then every 3rd or 4th year you replace it completely. So that's a cost that we really don't want to keep doing and dealing with because it's messy. We are looking in like to the 50% recycled rubber grant. I don't love that either because it is really recycled rubber and turns your shoes black. Your kids' shoes turn black. So it's not my favorite option either.
And it also has wire in it.
Yeah, and I have heard that it has wire. I don't know for sure. I haven't actually investigated it, but
Some of those
I have,
surfaces can be pretty
I have
nice,
a
really.
huge play area that, and it's in the floor of my greenhouse, and there's no wire in it, and it's brown.
it's brown. Okay.
So
Well,
what
that
did-
is an
what did-
option.
Can I, what did Alma put on there?
They do have a pour in place, but basically pour in place costs as much as the playground. So at this point, we don't have that money. So that's something we have to fundraise, or the city will have to help out with, or we just,
Is that,
Delay.
do you know if that's the same material they have in Harveyville? At their
I don't know what
playground?
Harveyville has. Does anybody else?
Can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it seems to me like Harveyville is just as soft as Alma's is up
It's
there.
kind of like
Well,
a cushy,
Alma's-
solid
it's
Kind of
surface.
that way, but
Like a
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Alma's turf. I just made that up. Alma's turf. And then I don't know what Harveyville's
but it's
is.
still,
I just
it's
don't
still
go
pretty soft.
Yeah,
It's
it
Mhm.
has
not-
a cussion underneath
Yes.
Yeah.
the turf.
Pour in place is like kind of a rubber material that's solid. And yeah, it does have a life cycle like anything we'll put in, but it
So I'm
does
just
last
curious,
a lot longer.
I'm just curious too, how long did it take you to raise that amount of money?
We started heavily fundraising in 2019. I think 2019 was that was our lowest year, I think. And then 2020, we raised almost 45,000, I think, in our last fundraiser. So 2 to 3 years.
So your 70,000 does not include, for example, the donation from the church when it closed down?
Does include that, yes.
Okay, but that money is not part of your fundraising money. So you wouldn't really have raised 70,000 over the last 2 years on your own fundraising. That's where I'm going with this on that.
None of it's from fundraising, it's all from donations.
It's all fundraising. It's just a
Well,
different type.
to me, fundraising, you're actively going out and pursuing these sort of things.
Well, we run a fundraising campaign.
Right.
So these, yes, campaigns
the-
typically give us more money, but everything we do is fundraising.
Okay, I'm with you on that, but I'm not being very clear apparently. The church closed. We're not going to have a church that's going to close in the next 2 years and give you another good chunk of money. That's where I'm going with on that.
True, yeah.
So if you eliminate what the church gave, because that happened to be a just a coincidence they closed and they had to get rid of the money and they donated it to you guys. So in Rowdy, you probably, I don't know what they got, 25, 28,000 from the church is a pretty good chunk.
That's not what we got from the church, but
Can you tell us? Or is that a
it's
secret?
14,000. None of my stuff's private.
14,000,
It's all public.
14,000 for the church.
I mean, I don't know how the donors feel about me revealing any of that
I
information,
don't know
Well,
if
but
they care.
but
It's all you.
I mean, the church, yes, but private
Yeah,
donations,
and
they
that's
don't
okay.
always
No,
want me
I'm-
to say. But yes,
I'm just talking about the church. I'm just talking about the
14,000,
church.
and then we got like one of the smaller funds, and I cannot remember off the top of my head. Sorry, I didn't look at
You know,
it.
the only thing I'm saying is if you're going to put this other stuff down on the ground because the other costs just as much as a playground equipment, how much longer would it take to raise enough funds to put the good stuff down so you don't have to replace it every 4 or 5 years?
Well, that's why we'd like to move forward with the playground and use the mulch because that's about a $4,000 purchase. But
It doesn't answer my question, Annie, please.
I guess I didn't understand the
Okay.
question.
How much longer would it take to raise funds to buy the good stuff that you place?
That's a guess. I
Okay,
mean, honestly,
right.
we
Yeah.
got a very good turnout from the last one, but we also got 7,500 from the bank and 7,500 from the city
Right, I
and
recall that.
$10,000 from a trust.
Okay, so do you guys have plans to try to raise funds to get the ground?
We are
level?
always, yeah.
I mean, specifically to get the ground cover.
We're
redone.
continuously fundraising. We don't always necessarily specify where it's going forward.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is it would be cost effective if you can delay replacing the mulch with mulch. If you can fundraise to the point where you can get that good stuff and keep it down there.
But that's another 2 years of delay on top
No,
of.
no, I'm not saying delay it. I'm just, if I said delay, if I say delay the playground equipment that you want to put in now, I apologize.
Okay.
That- I'm talking, go ahead and do that, but be working on a fundraising idea to get
Specifically for that. is that what you're
specifically
trying to say?
specifically for that ground cover. So you're not spending all this money in every,
Or you have to replace
4
it
years.
in the next 2 years.
Constantly.
is what
Yeah.
you're
So like make a
saying.
target before the 4-year mark where you have to dig up all the mulch.
Right.
Dig it up and we
Yeah.
put in the good stuff.
Right.
Okay.
you know, start working on it now, basically. is what-
That's what I was gonna ask. Is it
I hear-
feasible to put the good stuff underneath the playground equipment? Or do they ideally want the,
It doesn't matter because the
Retro.
playground, yeah, you can do it either way. And honestly, I think they usually put the playground in first because if it is actually poured in, then all that's underground with concrete. So then like you just make sure it doesn't obviously go into the playground equipment itself. But they do it both ways. We asked that question as well because we really didn't want to move forward if we couldn't get what we wanted in the end. So yeah, that's definitely. But they will have it will have a border to keep the mulch in, so it won't be something that's just like free flow or anything. And then that would be like a border for the pouring place later down the
Okay,
road.
all right, well, that's good.
So I guess the point of me bringing this up today is that you were not sideswiped when I brought in an actual plan, hopefully next meeting, because we're just talking about fine details at this point. So you guys can see what we're aiming for, and then at that point, we can order it, freight ship it, and then we'll do all the arrangement for a community build to install it. So that's the goal. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know because I'd like to for sure keep the balls rolling or the wheels rolling as we go through it. So
They all pretty well consistent with what they feel you can get out of that.
They
that
were.
money in terms of
they
like
were.
how many pieces of equipment and stuff.
Yeah, and really what we focused on was we wanted one big kind of jungle gym, so like 2 to 3 slides, the standard like climber that you would see in most parks. We definitely want a swing set because we would like to remove the bad one and replace it. It's a popular piece. And then some kind of like merry-go-round or spinner, and then I think a third piece, just depending on like how crazy the big piece is and whatnot. But honestly, we gave them a number budget and they were pretty consistently similar across the board on what they provided. One of them had like a weird, if you get this big piece, they'll apply their own grant money to it, but it literally was the same price as all the others after the grant money was applied. So it was just like a sales tactic. So yeah.
Do you know the approximate
measurement of the area that you?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
She'll have that at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll have detail. I will have the amount we have in the account and all that stuff for you, ready for you guys. But yeah.
Because there's one thing I wanted to check in to for you. They make rubber pieces that are dovetailed
Yeah. I've
fit like.
looked into that. They say it's actually more expensive.
Is it more expensive? That's why I was
I
going.
know. I
Because
need
I
to
know
do a price comparison.
We did it
online
in our
comparison.
barn, and it was.
For playground anyway, because it has to be like so thick.
And
So,
even,
what's funny is you can use surfacing like mulch, pea gravel. I forget what all the things are because it was the same for daycare as it is for a playground. I always thought, wouldn't you want to fall on dirt instead of pea gravel? I thought that was the most
Yeah.
bizarre.
And kids
Thanks.
kick it.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't want
yeah,
it coming
for
out
sure.
for
Throw
sure,
it.
yeah.
and
So anyway, yeah, I don't want to get us off topic, but that's the goal.
Okay. Sounds like you put a lot of work in it. Thank you. And all that.
And if you guys need those details,
well, never mind.
I'll share as well. I mean,
Well,
who
bring it with you in
Okay.
case the questions pop up. Okay.
will do. All right, I'm good. I'm done.
Okay.
Complete bingo.
You have dates for the other bingos yet, or just
I do have all four, but
when's the next one? Let's go with the second one.
okay. So March 25th, June 24th.
That's good enough for right now. We can get the others later. I just want to get the first two out there.
And June 25th.
Yeah.
Same time, same location, everything.
Yeah,
the
we
same. Okay.
they're very specific on bingo licenses. You have to know all that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't see anything in here reviewing purchase requests or work orders. Does anybody have anything? No. All right, let's move on to new city business. 52 West Flint Hills Drive dock permit application.
Yep, so they're here.
Can I interrupt just for a quick second?
Sure.
Just so I have it straight, how do you pronounce your last name?
Crime,
Prime?
crime.
Well, I'm glad I didn't try to pronounce it because I would have missed it. Both my guesses. Okay, go ahead. You've got the floor.
Okay, we are just here to, I guess, update or reapply for our dock building permit. And I brought my builder, Kale McCubbins, to help answer any questions or maybe
So
ask
do,
you guys.
yeah, did you fill out
I
another?
did.
Okay, I was gonna say.
And I probably have just as many questions as you all have, or probably more. So
$22 a question. Were you told that?
I'll just make a long one. So.
Now,
So
this is a continuation from a
Yeah,
previous
it is.
one, is it
it
not?
So it was
Okay.
approved, and then,
All right.
to my understanding, you want to come back in with a cover, like a
Yeah, like a
two-tier, a
double
double
decker.
decker.
Yes.
So like a month or two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Down in.
because it was approved in.
Yeah, this is our.
This is the third
approval, actually.
approval.
Yeah.
Diversion.
And it all will go into the
It has been in
specs
for 10 years.
that we allow.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why
No.
we.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
This is
No.
So that's what,
Okay.
And I think I've talked to you.
talk to me, yep.
So in the specs and, her and I talked on the phone a little bit. And I just I built a dock out here like last year, I believe, and it was too long. Every lake has different rules. So, and I do like 50 lakes. It's kind of like the playground, like 2 hours is a short distance. I'm like the one that travels, 5 hours every direction. So I'm from Central Missouri, and there's a lot of lakes in Kansas City. So every single lake has some type of different rule. And I noticed, I kind of talked to her that like the handrail height total was like 9 foot for the upper deck. And so I just had like questions about, okay, is that measured from the water edge? From the water, is that measured from the deck? What is that measured
It's
from?
measured in
Well,
the deck,
Deck, yeah.
Yeah.
12 foot from the deck.
Okay, and that's the actual,
The very highest point, not just the handrail, but the very
the
highest.
very high.
So if you got corner posts that stick up 6
Yep,
inches,
Absolutely.
the very highest point from the lower deck
So,
was 12 feet, not 9.
okay. I thought, her and I talked, and she said, I'm honestly not 100% sure on that. and then, I don't know if you all would ever be open to do it. You might tell me, go on and leave your ideas where they belong. But since I do, build docks on about 50 lakes roughly, I have some. I told them whenever I told them the dock, if you drive around your lake, it's the top 5 out of the 50 lakes. Like, it's very nice. A lot of people have concrete driveways. The roads are really good. The golf course is phenomenal. If you were boating on your lake, and this is my opinion, I love your lake. Like, my wife and I would buy a place out here. If you're boating on the lake, like went around the docks, I would say you're the bottom 5, I guess, is what, as far as the shape of the docks. So I would love to like bring a presentation or something and kind of show what these other lakes are doing than what they currently are. And I don't mean that as I want you all, I guess, to realize like what's out there. Obviously that bring business for me, more business, and then like just the way it would all look and how good the docks would look, and that just brings more money to the lake, things like that. And I don't know if that's something you would be interested in at all. Maybe not. But it's
What's your
something
name?
I'd be willing to do.
I didn't catch your name.
My name is Cale McCubbins.
Well, Kale, as you probably have figured out, the docks don't belong to the city. They belong to the
Yep.
individual residents out there.
Yep.
We rent them the property to put the dock
Yep.
on, but other than the dimensions, we really don't have a whole lot of
Yeah.
guidelines. We don't want people letting their dock fall apart and into the lake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we don't have any grounds to go out and say, hey, your dock's ugly. Will you paint it? Or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I'm not asking you to do that. What I'm asking is maybe update rules or something along those lines. Allow the people to build the docks. Like, say their instance, if I was just, and this is, I don't know how many of you all are lake life type people, but say that I was going to buy a dock and I'll buy a property out here on this lake, and I had say a 22-foot tri-tin, I would be looking at a different lake to buy my house on because of the rules. If you can't basically cover your boat with your dock, why would I want to buy a $100,000 boat and put it on and not be able to cover it? That's where I'm saying the city, and I've watched it happen where I've, taken a presentation, it changed rules, and then it changes, and that might not be something you all have any interest in, and I completely respect that if you don't. But I would be willing to do it if so.
I would
Kind of show you,
Could I make a suggestion to you, sir?
yeah,
You would need to get in contact with the group that is in charge of, or basically passes around information at the lake, and talk to the private owners. Because frankly, whenever this council changes one rule that we think is important,
hounded.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I hate that, I'm not going to characterize it as hounding, but we hear about it. So if you're talking about, let's do a big change in the lake beautification project, I can guarantee you we're not not going to get
Yeah.
buy-in unless the folks out there are buying it.
Yeah,
So if there's directly to them and there's a groundswell of people from the lake who say, this guy's got it and he knows what he's doing, I think, can they come here and they say, let's do it,
Okay.
we'll be happy. But
Okay. And that's the main reason I was here is because I thought that maybe she said 9 foot, but she wasn't for sure on the phone, and maybe I was, maybe that was my fault. I heard that wrong, but that's the main reason I was there. Is like you literally can't do a double decker with 9 foot, which you all would know that. So 12 foot would work fine. That'd be safe. And yeah, that's really all the questions because the staircase. Actually, the staircase would come off the back of the dock, which is cantilever. I guess I want to just double check, make sure that's all right.
We don't really have any interest in the structural
Okay.
aspect. I mean,
As long as
we leave that up to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
As long as your staircase isn't outside of the 12 or the 20 by 24, 20 by 24 by 12 foot high,
Okay,
knock yourself out.
okay. And
But
so,
I just real quickly, I'd like to address your idea of making larger docks
Yep.
for larger boats. A lot of people don't want that. It's
Well-
only a 200-acre lake, and people complain to me. I'm the lake representative,
okay,
A lot of people are always after me because there's too damn many boats out there on many weekends.
Yeah.
Last thing they want to do is accommodate bigger and more boats.
Okay. What's the length, the maximum length you have for a boat out there?
There is
Yeah,
no.
but it just says 20,
Okay.
20 by 24, so.
So I mean, 24 foot would be, I guess, would a 24 foot dock would only cover, like, say you bought a 20-foot pontoon, which is very small, and say you went with the Bennington brand, they're actually 25 foot long, and then you have the motor because it's 20. The 20 foot is just the.
I understand what you're saying. I know where you're coming
So
from.
your boat's that sticking out on this dock, 7 foot. So and that happens a lot,
I get it.
And I understand people don't want bigger boats and all that, but they're already out there. Those 25 footers are already out there. So, and most of
Accommodate
them
them,
do
then
have-
we'll have 30-foot boats out there.
Well, most of them do have a boat restriction of 28 foot.
Okay.
So that's and that
So, Kale, you recommended a boat restriction. Is that what I'm to pass on to people?
I would tell them that. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, honestly, it's the only lake I know of that doesn't have a boat restriction, to be honest with you. But I'm not trying to tell you all how to do your rule stuff. The 22 by 24, actually, that staircase would hang off the back in between the walkway and the seawall. So technically, that would be making that 27 foot.
You see this?
So I
That's what
guess
was
that-
just looking at Tim here.
Would I have to then put that off?
Because 24, and then of course the gangway coming out, depending on.
So it's
where
in
that is.
between. It's not.
Stairs.
I guess it wouldn't be adding dock space, but I've had that issue as well, so I wanted to
Access,
get
it's
that.
kinda like
That's a
if-
bigger footprint than.
The stairway came off back or whatever, which happens for a landing here, and the stairway coming up. But
And I could turn the landing, if that made sense, where it landed and it basically did like a turn. The reason for us putting the staircase off the back is safety reasons, so people aren't hitting their head off it, like kids. And that staircase is in the dock footprint. That's the reason why we have cantilevered them. So that's my reasoning for it, and I can change that. I just, this just is what works the best, and that's just why I'm here, because I don't want to sell them a dock, build them a dock, and then I get the call, hey, this, and then they're mad at me, hey, you didn't do your research and things like that. Since I didn't see any docks like this on the lake, I'm just trying to do all, I guess, my work beforehand.
All that we can approve is the gangway going to the dock and then 20 by 24 footprint.
Okay, does it matter how wide that gangway is?
Can't be over 4 feet.
It can't be over 4 feet. Okay.
And yeah, usually it's wood products, right, guys? Wood.
water composite.
Okay. And that's what. So the decking would be concrete decking on the lower level, which is, say like I build 250 docks a year. I've got like 10 dealers across, in different states and stuff. And out of those, only about 10 of them would be anything other than concrete as far as the decking. They're like 2x2 concrete squares that have stainless steel mesh in them. It kind of, the purpose of it, you don't have nails, splinters, things like that. It also weights the dock, so waves don't affect the dock as much. I don't know if that's something that's
We have a regulation on the construction.
I don't think that, as long as it's within the footprint, and then
okay.
that's the, talking about the walkway to it would probably be the question. Is that the walkway to the dock?
I can do the walkway in either one. I can do a composite. I've had both situations on walkways.
But it's still, even that cement thing is it's connected to the structure so that it's not cement in the
Correct.
ground.
It cannot come off of the structure of the dock unless you put screws out along the side. It's kind of got like a cap that goes over them, I guess I would say.
I'd like to see the plans before approval is made on it. I mean, the complete plans, what we're talking about.
Is he gonna
Do you want
change
to see like a
this?
photo of one?
No, is it going to be any different than what you've given here?
No, it would be no. Well, I'll have to change the staircase. I would have to change, and honestly, how I would probably do that would be the staircase would start on the footprint. They would go up 3 foot, like a landing off the back, and then, which I would much rather do it the safer route. If possible, but that there's no exception at all, no kind of variance or anything like that, then I guess, yeah, that's where I would be at.
Anybody else?
Well, it sounds like we've deciphered that the gangway is gonna be composite or wood,
Okay.
and the 20 by 24, build how you're gonna build it.
You can see your guys' plans.
I don't think so. Just a full 20 by 24 on top, right? Is that?
Oh, you're saying the
The
top?
top.
Yeah, the top. I mean, this looks like the bottom. Looks like a slip here, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you see like the dotted area, that'd be the roof, so it's, unless they change, the roof currently is covering the entire dock.
Okay.
But your very highest point is gonna be no more than 12 feet above the deck.
Yeah, no, I'll be under that.
And how much of that's really? I don't know. That's
Is there
somewhat
any
part of.
deal you can put off the back of the dock or anything like that?
Not if it exceeds the dimensions,
Okay.
right?
Because that's why I said inside that the 20 by 24, you can do whatever you want
Okay.
by 12. The other option would be to get another permit for a shed or whatever, a toy house or whatever you want to call them. Put that on the land right there where the gangway is, if that's approved. I can't tell you it will be.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have any more questions then. Oh, how long can the walkway be? That's the question.
As long as you need, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any real limit on that.
What we've done though is Kale, can you step up here for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a whole lot easier for me to draw it than try to explain it.
We need the straightest point between them.
This is your shoreline.
Yep.
Gangways.
Okay.
I'm not gonna pull that one.
Yeah.
Draw this line and keep it right here.
Okay. So basically from longest point to longest point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also, you want, if you're gonna put it anywhere on land, it should be a straight shot. Right? We don't want somebody building a shoreline thing. Okay.
What I just drew here is the end of your dock. It's relatively even with all of the other docks.
Yeah.
So you're not sticking out farther than all the other.
I think
docks.
in her situation,
Yeah, we're right on the
current dock would be like.
They're on the point.
Yeah, I feel like it would stick out just because of where we're at.
So her other dock would be like right there, right next to it, and I don't remember the dock along the way from this one. Her other
Yes.
or the neighbor.
Well, it used to, yeah.
I think
So
she
it
grew
would
up.
kind of stick
So
out
it'd be like
a
14
little
foot. So
bit
even if I just do like a
angle
6
of
foot
it.
walkway, which is a must for just fluctuation, and even if I do a 6 foot walkway, it'll be a 30 foot. But
Yeah, I don't think that's not.
Yeah,
bother us.
okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not going to be like,
Yeah, I'm not trying to.
yeah,
I want to go with your rule. Like
my truck's jacked up bigger than yours.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do that. We're just, I just want to obviously build them what they're wanting, what they're needing, And, as far as like say they get an air up boat lift, it needs to be a minimum of at least 4 foot deep for that lift to work, And then I know you all have droughts out here as well. So like personally, I would like to have 5 foot, I don't know, what does that lake fluctuate, I guess, as far as in a drought year?
I would say that's a deep cove.
Like
It is a pretty deep
One
cove.
of
It's
the
a deep
deepest.
cove.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
yeah.
it still fluctuates. quite a bit.
How much is it?
Probably 4 to 5 foot, like an extreme drought, like a 10-foot
Yeah.
drought.
Yeah. Okay.
Over there, not so much. I mean, on
Where
the east
they're
side,
located,
yeah,
yeah.
it's dry.
Yeah.
I mean, you can mow under your dock.
Well, as long as you conform to our dimensions and.
Yeah, no, I'm not, yeah, I don't wanna, I don't wanna change the rules or anything like that. I just wanna build the most I can build for them inside those rules. So,
So does
Um,
that mean your
And we just want to make sure you
stairs
don't go
change or
outside
not?
of it.
I'll move to approve.
I guess that's what,
What are you approving it contingent upon directives you have done in here about moving the
I
the
said,
footprint?
yes, that's what I said, as long as he conforms to our dimensions and heights and the footprint of what we just talked about.
So this stair, that will have to move because, I mean, even though it's safer out here, we'll have to still move it onto the dock or whatever.
Yeah, it'll have to fit into this.
Okay, gotcha.
The alternative, make your upper deck that much smaller, I guess. Just so that the footprint maintains the 20 by 24.
Okay.
yeah, I can still kind of put it off, not hanging off the back, but let me see if you don't mind, sorry, but I can make the cutout like that kind of, and then the staircase would be like going up like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
It does.
You want another dimension on this? We approve it.
Yeah, can we add a couple more measurements?
So it's
I don't
just
know.
this exact
There-
same
there-
thing
I mean,
without
this-
that, right?
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Just
make
take
it,
that
it'll be
part and
inside.
scoot it out
Yeah.
inward.
Yeah, we're just bringing it in, yeah.
Just so the final product, 20 by 24, no higher than 12 foot.
Okay.
4 foot wide gangway that's wood or composite, and do whatever
Okay.
you want.
And in the future, you think that anyway, that rule could be changed to, like, say this dock,
Why does the gangway have to be composite or wood?
Because there's a lot of docks that don't get tended to when you get old and sell your dock to somebody else, and they decide they don't want to.
So is it concrete better than
Well, but we had people
wood
put
or composite?
concrete in too, and that's an old.
It's not poured concrete.
These are like
he's talking
tiles.
Well, I know, I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Tile.
I'm just saying, there are places that have poured concrete, right?
Yeah, that's,
And
it's not
that-
poured concrete,
yeah,
it's
that's what
tile.
we're trying to
Is
avoid.
it
So this
concrete
like a-
composite?
this is what
It's like a tile.
yeah.
I
Like
understand.
So
like the new
dock would be-
concrete siding they're doing for houses.
Yeah.
So they give
Okay.
a roll
Yeah.
in
Essentially, this is the dock.
poured concrete on the shoreline.
I just think
Like,
composite is,
Essentially, that's the
the
dock.
zap
Right.
form is gonna last longer than wood any
It's
day.
like
Yeah,
composite kind of, only it's a cement.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would really like to push for
It is a
that.
composite. I mean, it's not concrete.
But, I mean,
That's what I view it.
Yeah, I agree.
The word concrete.
It looks like
Got bad mojo.
it looks like the real deal. Do you have a brand I can show them?
K&R Manufacturing is, I can email a bunch of stuff.
Sounds like composite to me.
I mean, that's what it.
watched on TV and their house looks like a log home, but it's made out of concrete.
So I guess it sounds like composite to us.
Composite.
I can
Composite.
put
Almost just put it on my house
On
and
the
then
shoreline.
switch.
When you remove it.
They're
Yeah,
not poured it, it's
Yes.
pre-manufactured.
It's formed.
I don't have a problem with
These are
that.
like tiles. Yeah,
I don't
that's
either.
what it
It's
says
the
in the
pouring
structure of the-
that I
It's no
don't
different
like.
than a piece of
Yeah.
composite
It's like
deck.
pavers, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, might be
Concrete.
thinner.
But if you want to remove them, take the whole thing.
I don't think
Okay.
anyone.
Instead,
That might have been a
you
thing.
don't tear up the
but no.
ground because it's not in.
Easily removed, allows easy conduit access to the dock structure. Be tailored in thickness and reinforcement to handle heavy loads. High heat absorption. Suitable for commercial
It's not
applications.
being,
Long lasting impervious.
It's not
to-
pulling
it's
Alright.
not under
We got a
lawsuit,
motion and a
is it?
Do we have any further discussion
Party
on this,
blankets.
guys? We have a- we
Yeah,
have a
I think so.
motion.
I don't have an issue with having those pavers or whatever the heck you call them
Awesome.
on the,
Okay.
but you made the motion.
I don't have a problem with it either. You can add it to it.
And I still maintain my second.
We said all the right words. That's the only thing I'm concerned with.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve it. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Good Lord, let's move on.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it in,
Guys,
man.
thank you.
Kale
Yeah.
coming all the way out.
Brian, it's been approved.
Thank you very much.
This is how we get things done.
Farm right here,
Ah,
right by the funeral home. It was like a Bradford.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
John Charles Bradford's place, huh?
Yeah, I bought that farm stuff. I don't know, like deer hunting, and I like Cahola, I'm out all the time, and you know, I'm not at this lake near as much, but I'm always out in Kansas somewhere, you know. So I bought the farm, and then
You're stuck now. 'Cause you
I'm
like
here in
farm.
Estridge all the time.
So Kansas is better, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's what he said.
Well, honestly, yeah, no.
Yeah. I was about to say.
So you don't mind if I mushroom hunt out there, right?
Is it
There's not any on
Honestly, I have so many mushrooms in Missouri.
there. So then that's a yes.
No.
The doctor rules it's yeah.
Right? There you go.
I'm just saying,
No.
We still have a dog moratorium.
didn't we just change the rules for you?
He did not change the rules.
It's nice meeting you all.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right.
See, I know better than
All right, under other or continuing council business, park electrical bid. Who has information on
Well,
that?
you guys had tabled this to the next meeting. I didn't know if you wanted on this or you want to table it again. I don't know if Mike and Annie have really had a chance to discuss that.
I spoke with Annie a little bit. I talked with Evergy, and what was proposed to me that was discussed with Greg Bryan in the park is not possible for secondary for Evergy. So what I need to do, I guess, is meet with the park committee or whomever and
Oh, we
go
were supposed to
over
do
it.
that today. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I couldn't have done it today.
So you're
I'll do
saying,
that.
you're saying Evergy does not agree with what?
No, distances and what he bid as far as distances of where things were going to go is not possible. It's not possible to run secondary, and I didn't think it was. I mean, because we were looking at like from transformer to where he bid to put the main panel on the secondary was like 240 some feet. You know, pretty sure it was around
You have to oversize the wire, but I mean, get less voltage drop, but then you're talking about
Okay.
money.
Yeah, then we're gonna have to pay for that.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can keep
And
it
how many-
within specs, it's no cost to us other than getting the conduit.
Yeah. How many amps you talking?
200, a 200 amp service.
Okay.
Now, I'm not,
He said he couldn't run it about over 150 because he had to guarantee voltage.
Well, they can do it with engineering approval, so.
I swear
I might know.
to God, you
But-
bureaucrats.
So Justin, you're gonna
What
meet
is
us
So
at
we
the
have
I
our
want to
clearance
meet
on
with the
Tuesday?
park board
I don't know. I mean,
and get
I
something
don't know.
together,
I
and
can-
then we can go back to the drawing board on that. Because I came in to talk to him about things that were talked about with other people, or where stuff was going to go, and how it was going to go in, and this and that. And I
like realistically, you know, everybody builds a 200 amp panel, or whatever. But I mean, like, how much are you actually going to use?
this was going to one central portion, and over the next
a lot.
10 to 15 years, probably a lot of it. You know, if we build buildings, if we put in lighting, it's all going to come off of this service when we put it somewhere.
Yeah, but even lighting and stuff. I mean, like, unless you've got like HVAC and stuff like that. I mean, you know, okay, is it possible? Yeah, but you know,
Hey, we're
if it
gonna
is,
have all
oversize the conduit and pull new service wire when the time comes. But
That's fine too.
but,
He's
I
just
mean,
going to put in a 200 amp
There will
can
be
and do it
heaters.
once rather than rebuilding the unit strap. But
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah,
Right.
I mean,
I don't care.
so I want to understand.
As much as they
Literally
charge,
do not
let
care.
them
I want to understand
Propane
just a little bit, because I
heaters,
know anything about
That's what you need to
electricity
tell
other than I can set my
They'll
house
bring a
on
heater,
fire.
make
if
it
I don't
quiet.
want it, right? But
They're all little.
He's talking
ladies
about
that don't want to haul that stuff.
starting from the main pole, roughly
Oh, that's
across the
nice.
street from the restrooms.
Those should
And
have
that
their own
secondary
individual.
server is where he's going to run the wire to
Who's he?
anybody.
Okay.
I think we were talking about Greg was what his was originally talking
He
about.
was just going to put in pipe.
from
That's
from
all
that
he was
from that
doing.
from that pole across the street to there, and then that secondary pole, as we're calling it, is going to light the entire park.
No, he was
So
going
how
to
was-
go from the pole to the back of the bandstand
Okay.
at that corner. We were
Yeah.
going to set Unistrut there and basically hide it behind there, and then
Yeah.
go out from there with everything.
Okay, so it would light the
But
entire
that was
park.
like
That's my point. The wire would go from there to light all the light poles that we're looking at.
Okay, yeah,
down the
it
road.
will, but not from the current pole that's there.
your service
what I
panel's
thought
at
you
the
said.
bandstand.
It would have been. That's about 240 feet
Yeah,
from the
Okay.
transformer right now.
so that would be your service point, and
Is that
therefore they
mine?
would care about
Sorry.
that length.
not
But
mine.
like, yeah, I don't know. Where's the service panel now? Is it in that bathroom?
No, it's right on that pole in that
Oh,
welded
okay.
up
So it's
box
like
that
a
has
farm
two
unit kind of
fuses and the thing that I said I will not touch.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it either, just looking at all the way the wires are hanging out.
Yeah.
But is it possible to separate that into two connections going into the park? So one side's doing half of it, the other one's doing the other half?
From another pole.
A whole nother
From another pole.
fee and everything. And you'd have to come off the other alley. That's really the only other spot there's power down there, other than the secondary for 110 volt, secondary for a street light. The corner.
Isn't there a pole on the corner where Aaron Rush lives and Daryl?
In the alley.
I mean, isn't there one on the corner out the street? I thought I saw one.
It's a street light. And there's just 110 volt going in.
So the two poles you're talking about in the alleys are basically directly across from each other. And you're saying that you can't connect off of both of them, and one of them.
You could if you want to pay for 2 meters, and I don't think it's necessary.
Is it $25 a month? I think is a minimum. I think.
I mean, we're still
Yeah.
not getting that. I don't care. I mean, I'll do whatever you want to do, and then I will go get prices on what the wire is going to cost, what the disconnect's going to cost, what the meter can is going to cost. I'm just saying, I need to know where the hell we're putting the pipe, so then we can get a legitimate bid for underground work. That's it.
Okay, and the only thing, and I don't care either, Mike, I'm just concerned that I understood that they need X amount of power coming off this one pole in order to light the park and provide music, for example, or whatever else you're going to do in there.
That's why.
And if one pole is not providing it, why wouldn't we consider a second one? That's the only thing I'm asking.
No, I was considering dropping a 200 amp service, do it one and done, overkill it, and he said there's the option of doing a 100 amp service for now, oversizing the pipe and then pulling the 200 amp in. So 200 amps is going to kill that park dead forever, guaranteed. I mean, we're not going to have 47 RV spots around there all pulling off. So I mean, we're not building it up like that. 200 amps.
If I have a
Well,
Christmas market down there, we
and
might have 47.
And if you
RVs
do,
down
what's to
there.
stop you from just getting
Well, we
the
do RVs as
selling that way? I mean, it,
I know,
Stands.
yeah.
No, I mean, there's other
They do
educated
a little
decisions
breaky
to be
about
made.
heat,
I just
though.
need to
And
know
them
like
heaters are
options.
what
We can
kills
look
your
at the
power.
150 foot mark.
We've had to tell lots of
We
people.
can look at getting engineering approval if you want to step in and talk to
Paul's
Nick
gotten
too.
very creative with what electrical
But I,
is
for
available.
one, would
And when they
prefer
redid the
that you get
bandstand
something
and they
that
exposed the wire, it zapped it.
will cover
Killed
us for a
I don't know
minimum
why
of
it's
the
back
time,
on.
for
I
the
think
time
maybe
being, but
it's
yet
not
have the
supposed to
capability
be.
to
Yeah, I
upgrade
wondered
it
that
to
myself.
something more powerful without having to dig it all up again.
No, absolutely. The pipe's
Yeah.
going to be in there. We just need to know where the pipe's going. That's the main thing. Where is that primary pipe going? Because we don't want to mess with that again. And where we set our unistrut, we set our meter can and our disconnect.
really 2-inch conduit.
I don't know. I feel like
Kinda
it usually does.
Well, no, it's actually quite big for triplex, for underground
That's
triplex.
neat.
So
But
the inside diameter 2 inches, is that that is?
They require 3, don't they?
yeah, triplex. I mean,
3 inch.
You giggling out.
I said it just had.
Well,
a
she's a
picture
big-
when I got an old
I think so. I think it goes clear up to 4 on.
I guess we're not now. I was thinking 3 feet. I'm sorry.
I don't know
What were they
age,
talking
so
about?
I've never heard that.
I was thinking
2 inches of inside diameter.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest,
we
I'm not
put
sure.
3 inch into the lake. When we ran that over, we ran over that turn and we put 3 inch.
I want to say it is inside, but
All right, all right.
All right, I want to
We'll figure
suggest,
this stuff out after.
I want to
After
suggest that you guys
Aaron
get together.
Yes.
You guys
so
get together
scratch
So
and-
let me know when you want it on the agenda again.
We will.
Yes, thank you.
yeah, so it's across Fifth Street in the alley, or your other option would be across 4th Street in the alley, and that
And then
it's
we're
not as good of a.
no, it's a
lot,
lot
so.
because the creeks over there, kind of where some of that structure is going to be. Plus, I have an 8 inch water main over there. I want to do the least amount of directional drilling around that as possible. So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So get with them,
All right.
get with Stephanie, put it on the agenda for the future. I'm putting down to be determined, so we don't put it on next 2
Yeah.
weeks agenda unless you guys are able to get that accomplished.
actually have information. Useful.
The ones you mean? All right. Just kidding. Okay, let's move on. Law enforcement's on the agenda because it was tabled from the last meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. So I didn't know if Dolly was gonna be here to talk about
Was she on the agenda originally for tonight and she backed out? I thought I saw it earlier, but, and then I didn't see it.
I don't
on the
think
new
so.
one.
it. She was on the last
Might have
one,
been
I
last
think.
meeting.
I think it was last week.
She wasn't on this one.
So any discussion on law enforcement? If not, we'll move on.
I don't think we have anything new, so I'll move to table it.
I support the man, boy.
Second.
Supporting his motion or the man
Yes.
in blue?
Yeah, he's motion, so I'm seconding. Well, yeah, that too.
Motion to table the law enforcement to a date to be determined. Can we do that, Todd?
Perfect.
Okay. And we have a seconded by Tim. Any discussion? All in favor?
You're right, Stephanie.
Okay. Brett and then Justin.
Okay.
That wasn't a real second.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
No.
Okay. Did everybody approve that? I didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. 5-0 on that. Okay. Bait shop. We need to discuss the bait shop, no doubt. Now I have some thoughts on the bait shop and I'll just give you my opinion. Maybe I shouldn't use that word because I got chastised for it last time I used the word opinion. So, anyway, my thought on the bait shop is if we can't get somebody to contract for the bait shop, then I personally would make the effort to go somewhere like Sam's Club and buy materials and product that we might need to sell at the bait shop. And I'm not opposed to hiring somebody to run the bait shop at X number of dollars per hour. Now, I've put that a little bit of that together. The only thing that I would ask from the council is to pay my mileage to run it to Peak and back, or out to the lake to drop it off. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with inventorying the product. I don't have a problem with making sure that we're getting the money that we've asked for the property. You know, I'll do an inventory every time I go to buy the product, just like anybody else should do if they're running a place or running a business. They should know what their expenses are and what the income should be on the product that they've sold. And you'll be able to spot it right away if there's any wrongdoing going on. Does anybody ever run a business? You know what I'm talking about? Everybody understand what I'm talking about? So that's something I'd be willing to do if we can't find somebody to rent it. I mean, not to rent it, but to run it for us. And the reason I say depending on when they work, for example, I don't think we should sell beer before 10 o'clock in the morning. Agree or disagree? What do y'all think?
What are people gonna drink?
Don't have a choice to do that because that's a township. It's their decision.
Yeah.
The
I
CUP
know.
is approved by the township, not by the city, so you don't have any jurisdiction over
Tomato
that.
juice and
I don't
all.
think there's anything wrong with time of day restriction. That was just.
Well, then that makes a difference because if you're going to sell beer at 6 o'clock in the morning, you've got to have somebody that's 21 or older out there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I doubt. I'm just saying. I don't know why. Why couldn't you restrict sales? Is there a law against that? The time of day.
Well, I mean,
Brett, you
the
working-
owner of the shop can restrict.
You can do whatever you want in that regard.
You
I
can
mean,
put that in the contract,
Well, yeah.
or you could,
Yeah, you can't
if you're
change the
doing
law.
it yourself, you
I'm
can
not.
make
I'm not
that
trying
decision.
to. I'm not trying to change the law. But the law doesn't tell me I have to sell. If I'm selling beer, I have to sell it, be available 24/7 if
Yeah.
I'm open, right?
no, all they do is they restrict when you can and you operate when you want to within that window. So, I mean, there's nothing against you further restricting.
I
mean,
guess-
Right, so if we
So
hired
saying
somebody
if
at
the
an
city's
hourly
actually
rate, you
employing
could definitely say we're not selling beer till 10 o'clock.
Exactly. That's my point. You might find a high school kid that's wanting to come in at 6 o'clock in the morning and only work a 4-hour day. But you're not gonna.
About Natalie, what do you think?
I'm sorry. What was that? Annie?
I was cracking a joke at Mike over there.
So,
Um,
we got a license.
But I mean, it's neither here nor there with, we don't have employees to run it or a bait shop contractor. So I mean. are
Good.
we
You don't have a bait shop
advertising?
contractor because they feel like they're not. They don't feel like they're getting a good deal. They're the ones I talk to.
Agree.
And I think they're not getting a good deal. I feel like they're not getting a good deal because they don't know what a good deal they've got. And what I'm saying is we can make a ton of money at that bait shop every year, even if we were the ones that were operating it. And even if we paid somebody by the hour. How many hours did we figure out? 2,500 hours. Wasn't it roughly 2,500 hours from March
1 to
March
October 31st.
to the last day of, according to what the contract was that we're wanting people to work.
Let's go from April. So what we got? 9
So
months?
X number of those hours would be, say, maybe $8 an hour because they're not selling beer during that time. And the other ones might be at $10 an hour. But we're not paying somebody $20,000 a year. If we ran it. So we've got a savings of 20,000 right there. And if they collect fees from us at the lake, for example, for all the fees that we can get, fishing, boating, camping, whatever, we could pay them a flat fee for every license
How many hours?
or every,
Salary.
how many?
I got 3150.
3,100.
And then they're not open, you're not open on Wednesdays, right? So you gotta take your Wednesdays away.
Plus your FICA match.
You're open on Wednesdays, I guess. Yeah, you're closed just in April.
Closed in April on
Plus
Wednesdays.
FICA.
Aren't they
7.65.
closed once
What
a
is it?
week?
Oh, wait.
No,
5 point.
May
Well,
through
7.65
September, they are open
and-
every single
Well, that's
day.
with Medicare.
Yeah, what?
How did
It's
they
6.2
think that they
and
were closed on
1.45.
Wednesdays?
That's what our pamphlet
Yeah,
says.
715
They're closed on
last I heard.
Wednesdays in
What is it now?
1.45? Is that
7
But then after that, they're open every
7.56,
day.
right?
What are we supposed to
Seven.
pay 'em?
the employee
Just
match?
$10
What did I say? Whatever I said the first time.
Not the withholding portion. The
That's
actual
only,
FICA
yeah.
match.
Where are we paying?
7.65
Yes,
the match.
Okay.
yes,
All right.
is the yes.
yes.
You're really gonna make money.
My point is, from what I could tell, we made roughly
Yeah.
40-some
I don't know
thousand
if
dollars
our payers
last
clean
year
the
just on
beach.
collecting boat fees, camping fees, fishing license, things of that nature. And out of that money, we paid $22,000. So our net basically on that was what, 27,
17.
40, 40, I thought it was, hang on. So it was close to 49,000 from what I saw.
Oh, 49.
And if you paid out 22, the difference is
Okay.
more than 17. Wouldn't that
Last
be
year they sold.
27.
27? So, if we didn't pay that 20,000 out, but we paid them a portion of the fees that were collected, we'd be money ahead
And still pay them an hourly rate?
and still pay them an hourly wage. And they're part-time, so you're not paying insurance, you're not paying retirement.
Well,
You're just paying your social security.
are they
thing.
part-time?
Part-time?
I mean,
Yeah, but
That's
the
not
hours,
part-time.
papers kind of gets a little.
Yeah,
40 hours a week, right?
it's anything.
Well,
Above 35, right?
Yeah.
I don't know where the
Consistent.
threshold is, but is it like a seasonal employee? Does that count towards what you have to do? I think you can declare them seasonal and
Yeah, I don't think that you're required to do anything other than designate them as a full-time employee. I don't know.
May, June, July,
I don't
August,
think
September. 6 times 30.
They're right, they're seasonal or not.
Well, you're going to-
July, August, September, October, 6. And so that's where you.
So what, so Michelle, what 4 hours do you want to work the bait shop?
15 a day.
Huh?
15 a day.
15 a day. Real
6
quick.
a.m. to 9 a.m.
Just a rough talk.
I've got a summer job.
If we're looking at about
Canning.
3,150 hours
Harvesting.
April through October, and average of
Canning.
$9 an hour is going to put you at about 28,000.
Carving.
And then another couple,
Woodburn.
3,000 for your FICA match. You're looking at
For your what? Oh, FICA, okay.
You're looking at paying out about 30,000 in wages to hire someone at average of $9.
And here's, and then you guys may recall, and Michelle, you wouldn't because you were on the council, but the rest of you may recall that I've come in here before, in the last couple of years, and I've specifically asked, how much money does the bait shop make? And when somebody else, I'm not going to say his name, was on the council, he said it was none of my business to know how much those people were making out there.
That was probably me because Brad.
No, it was not you. It was not you. But my
Well,
point
it's none of
is,
my business.
my
and I
point is,
continue
if
to
we
feel that.
knew for sure what kind of money is made out there, this decision would be easy to make. But we don't know, so the decision's tough. It's a tough decision to make.
I mean, if someone's running a private business, is it their responsibility to share it with us? That's my question on it.
They're
Like,
under contract.
But the
to
question
us,
is,
It
if
could
it's
be
your
why you
business-
don't have any
Contract.
bidders.
whoa, I have 5 people talking to me. What? Mike, what did you just say?
I said that could be why you don't have any bidders.
Yeah.
At the table.
That's because, yeah,
Somebody
your
wanted to expose
your
the
compensation
holiday
level
bills
is lower
don't
than
businesses usually pay
$10.
their own bill.
Yeah, but it's a
In
They
their
have
mind it
rent-free,
is,
bill-free.
yes, if there's,
weird
And
window
hang on, hang
of
on.
they're still contracted and then selling their own product, which they pay for out of their own pocket. So how much of that is our business and how much isn't? I'm just asking a question, so don't attack me for it. I genuinely, is it legal for us
Well, I
to
mean,
know?
Your position is you're renting a building, really, and because you, as far as I can tell, you, the only thing that you guys are supplying, in essence, the only inventory you're supplying is licenses, right? Food, pop, beer, everything else that contractor buys somewhere
mhm,
and then sells.
mhm.
There isn't anything that the city sells, but permits, licenses, and that kind of. And the building is used like a rental building because he that contractor fills it with his inventory, even though the fixtures and FF&E are building oriented. So at the end of the day, yeah, if you rent something, there is nothing unless you ask for it, and you can ask for it in a contract. There's no law saying they have to disclose to you what they're earning from that portion. Can you get it? Yeah, but
To clarify, yes.
Because you put it in the contract. So yeah.
you put it in the contract. You
Don't want to give it, then could we tell them pay the bills? Pay your own, pay the electricity to cool your products out of the coolers that you're
Yep.
running?
Tell them whatever you want, and that
24
makes
hours a
it
day.
Or they just
less
won't
attractive
bid
of a
the job,
contract.
like
Yeah.
you're sitting here
I mean,
right now with the
that's all.
contractor.
Well, I don't know.
It's an overreach.
If you're
It's
threatening
going
the
over.
contractor, then they're not going to want to come work, and that's.
We're not threatening a contract.
It kind of is a threat, though. I mean, in the sense that we want to know.
I mean, that's what
the
you're
things that we're
requesting
saying
for
right
them
now,
to
I
do.
wouldn't-
All right, so we up the, let's just throw an example out there. We up the payment to them to make it lucrative for somebody to bid it. So let's just say 25,000 at minimum is what somebody wants. And on top of that 25,000, they go out there and they sell product on their own because we don't have a right to know what they're making. And they pull in another $35,000 or $40,000 on the side on their own. They're not working for minimum wage or less, guys.
So
They make it what they're worth. We don't go out there. We're not out there. The Lodge is a good example. And I call it the Lodge. It's not called that anymore, but you guys know what I'm talking about. What's their monthly lease and what's it based on?
but they're not employees.
Shit, their lease doesn't even pay
Yeah.
property
Okay,
taxes.
I
No,
understand.
no. Like, let me get my point out, I guess. I do run my own business and have. I wouldn't say it's big bucks or anything, but I do know that for me to make $30,000 in a year, I have to make $50,000 because a good 30 to 50% of my money goes back into taxes, sales tax, and whatever other business expense that I have. And I have seen business expense, even on the smallest of businesses, eat away all that money. So I find it hard to believe that they would actually be making enough money to, I wouldn't think 35 to 40. Obviously we don't know. And that's part of the reason I worked on getting this software so that we would have this information.
And I love you for that too, because I think that's a really, really good thing to have, whether we run it ourselves or we contract it out.
Right. And I don't have a preference if we want to run it ourselves. I do feel like if we run it ourselves, we're just paying an employee who maybe isn't as dedicated to the job. But that's a preference thing. I also feel like we should have somebody camping as a host because we have a campground, and every campground I've ever been in has an overnight host all year long. And that's a safety thing to me. If you don't want people coming in the middle of the night and then leaving before they pay, that's another thing. But contracting it out does have benefits to it, so that's something that we do need to keep in mind. But yes, $20,000 for the year that we pay them is only $8 an hour if we're paying an employee,
If
and
you're-
not counting all the other things that we'd have to pay for.
If you're paying an employee based on the contract and they do absolutely nothing else, they don't sell any bait, they don't sell any food, they don't sell any beer, yes, we're paying them squat. And by the hour, they're getting nothing. But an entrepreneur is going to make a business successful, or they won't run it again. It's up to them. It's up to them. Now, if we're running it, the profits from all the food and beer and things that we sell out there is coming to the city, less the wages that we're paying. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. Until we know what's being made out there, we don't have a clue if what we're doing is fair or not. I would rather somebody come into council and say, look, I will give you $2,000 for the right to let me run the place the way I want to. I want to rent canoes. Can I rent canoes? Well, as long as they're registered on our lake, you can rent them, wouldn't you think? Just throwing that portion out there. If I was running that bait shop, I'd doing whatever I could to make the most money I could, but that's me. I'm not going to just sit back there and twiddle my thumbs and wait for something to happen and hope that there's enough people that comes in there and make me get more than $10 an hour. And I agree with a lot of what you're saying about business expenses,
Right.
but also know those are tax write-offs. And you can't count your sales tax as a business expense because the customer pays that, not you. So your sales tax comes in, even if it's 10%, you sell something for $1, you get
I
$1.10.
understand how sales tax works.
Well, but you made the comment that
no,
you part
but
of
your
business
yearly
ex-
taxes.
What?
Your yearly taxes.
Okay, well, yearly taxes are a little bit different than sales tax. Okay, just to make that
Yes.
clear.
I
Self-employment
know.
tax.
Yes.
Is what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, because you're paying all your own.
They have to pay self-employment tax anyway, do they not, Todd? If they were contracted by us, it's their responsibility to pay their taxes and file from the money they make from us on a contract, not ours. So self-employment tax is gonna be there regardless of how you look at that.
Somebody's paying it, whether it's the worker or whether it's them or whatever. Yeah, they'll pay self-employment taxes on the,
Contract.
the net of their 1099 compensation minus, whatever they paid out in wages whenever they were subbing that function out. But, and then I'll guess whatever they made off the
Sure.
place too, but
Sure.
yeah. I don't know. I'm one of those people that, if you would have came to me with this a month ago, I'd have been adamantly against it. I'm kind of, I don't know. I still say there's too many question marks. And if somebody showed up today and said, hey, I'll do it for, whatever the number is, maybe it's somewhere between 20 and 25 is two numbers you threw out. But, I'd be more apt to just say, yeah, I'm if that person was, we thought was competent enough to run it and everything,
Sure.
that would be something I'd want to entertain. But
I think we would all entertain that right now.
yeah, and I mean, there's so many question marks on the administration side, like, because, starting a business from scratch and something the city is accustomed to doing as far as getting in product and, who's, I guess you said you'd take on some of that inventory, and maybe that does take some of the headaches off of, our city employees and, as far as like job expanding into, hey, you're doing this, but you're also managing.
Hey, little
the whole-
Johnny didn't show up this morning. Can you go out and run
Yeah.
the shop?
Yeah, that's-
Don't even try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
call in.
Exactly what I thought.
Yeah. So then are we paying you to go sit out there for whatever? I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of things that still kind of rubs me wrong. But at the end of the day, I also feel that, having that person out there is an amenity of sorts. I know we're, paying the person, they're operating their own enterprise, whatever, on the contract. But, like Annie said, every campground has a host that's worth its salt anyway. And, I think there's a lot of value to having somebody out there. And if we're between that rock and the hard place and we need to go at it ourselves, I don't know. I'm somewhat open to it. But I don't know. There's still a lot of question marks for me, but
And I know a few weeks ago, I put out an email to everybody requesting information or input
Every day.
on what can be done.
Every
Yeah, nobody responded.
I had a hell of an email
Seasonal
partially
hosts.
typed to you.
On winter, I think they
ran
close.
out of-
Yeah.
Ran out of
But
ink.
like every email, I've got a lot of stuff in my draft.
Every
folder
campground
that
I've
I
ever
think-
stayed in as a
Yeah.
host. It is literally someone who's
Yeah.
retired with a camper and they want to camp for free and they stay for a month and then they move on, or they stay the whole season.
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah, and there's some that'll do that.
Some people literally retire just to take that job.
And they
What
do
I
that
read,
down
yeah,
in
honestly, just because of the time that's elapsed since you
But
sent
they
that.
free
to
campground
them.
like Melbourne.
And
And I'm sure lots
Melbourne's
changed in
free
those
spike
thoughts as
wouldn't have
well.
anybody 'cause they
But
have
yeah,
to
but my
protect
point
their
is,
dump
we
toilet.
can't
They
just
don't worry about
continue to
that
sit here and hope somebody's gonna walk in the door and say, hey, I'll do it. We've got to come up with some kind of a plan, and we've got to work it and get it going.
Did any
Yeah,
of the-
just FYI, people are calling me almost daily now,
did anybody
wanting to get a
That-
camping spot, wanting to know if we've hired anyone, wanting to know if they're going to be able to get on the lake. I don't
Is
know.
the gate still open?
No idea.
Did any of the people that declined say what would have made it worth their while?
I tried to ask him.
I would like to know.
Present some ideas, some options, whatever, and all I've gotten is I'm out.
I've had, because we've had previous come in and say, this is the contract that I would work under, kind of with it. With that.
And we worked with him.
And that's what I'm wondering is why.
The negative I've gotten was, you only paid $1.50 an hour last year. I'm not gonna work for that.
That was posted on the bait shop Facebook page.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, right after-
Sketchy.
But
math.
my,
Right after she kicked me off of it,
My
so I
point
couldn't
is-
retort.
my point in telling you all that is.
Well, isn't that connected to the city?
No,
No.
it's not.
it's their own.
It's their own.
It's their own business.
So I can create a Eskridge City
Watch
Council
page.
page, and then I could say things about Stephanie and Mike,
Well, since they're a legal entity,
They're
I don't think
accurate.
that's
It's called Eskridge
necessarily.
Watch.
and nobody can
Already-
do
already-
anything about it.
do that.
Are you on the watch? Is anybody on this
Well,
group
Lake
on the
Bums
watch
is their
page?
business.
It's not that bad
I
anymore.
see what
Knock
you're
it off.
saying, but like, yeah. if
Join
you're
it if you're gonna
representing
knock it.
someone else, then
But
she's
we're also
representing her own
employees.
business.
They weren't. She wasn't an employee. I
Yeah.
guess if that's what you're getting at. So.
But I mean, you know, there's laws against slander and this
For
and that.
elected officials, I think that's a tight
I don't
rope
know.
to be walking.
Yeah.
I don't want to go for anything legal.
Well, anyway, that was the reason I was given. And even though I tried to tell this person, well, you know, there's other things that you're not aware of, such as you're the one that makes the profit on the product that's sold. We'd get none of that. Yet if you consider that and the amount of money, well, how much money comes in? Nobody knows.
I guess-
Nobody knows.
Just advertising like they do on TV. Unlimited earning potential.
Yeah.
And it really,
I mean,
it really
Yes,
is.
yeah, I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. They could be doing some
We
different
need an
stuff. with
advertiser
videos and
standing on
things,
top
but-
of a semi going down the highway.
When I looked at the one proposal from the young man who said that he wanted to rent canoes out there, I thought, what a novel idea that would be. And
Yeah,
that would be
You guys had two. I mean,
I think it would go over.
oh,
I
I
mean,
do
I
too.
really do.
I do too.
I talked to
Building
Cheryl
quite a business
Marcotte
with-
and she said they made around $4,000 a month just on their sales. And I don't know that they did beer and
Gross
stuff then.
or net?
So that's 24,000 extra above what we
Just
paid
for
them.
6 months.
Gross?
Well, I just
4,000 a
said
month?
total. And then she
Okay.
said, yeah, 4,000.
And,
But I
and
split
how
it
long
with
ago
mine.
was it when they were running it?
Well, that was well, that's
5
before
years
Dave.
ago.
5 years ago. Okay, and in that 5 years, we've added campsites, have we
Yes,
not?
we've added a lot.
So
Yeah.
there's been a lot added to the lake, so the 24,000 might be even higher now.
Well, we added all those coolers that we bought inside the bait house for more product to even be in there to be sold as well.
So the city has a lot invested on their own inside the bait house as well as outside on the grounds.
So the question is, if we were hiring employees, isn't that something we need to advertise for as well? I guess that's my,
Well,
what's the next step here? Because we don't have anybody.
I think our next step is trying to figure out what we're gonna do. Are we gonna hire somebody? Or are we gonna continue to try to find somebody to contract the bait shop from us? Are we gonna up the bait shop amount? You know, one thing, another person said, we're not even offering a bonus this year. And I said, well, we briefly discussed a bonus, if I remember right. And I said, I made the comment that just because it's not written in there doesn't mean we can't vote to give a bonus at the end of the year if everything's above and beyond what we expect. You guys remember that comment being made?
Mm-hmm.
So with that thought, and nobody seemed to object from it, not even our attorney didn't say we couldn't do that. But my point is, just because we're offering 20,000 does not mean that there's not a bonus potential.
And now, does the bait house person mow the grounds now, like Mona and them did, and Cheryl, or do we mow it now?
How long ago did Mona and Cheryl mow? Because I've been here for 8 years and they never mowed the lot.
I know, but I think when they first started is what I'm saying. So we mow it now, right? The city mows it now. So yeah.
And there was issues with the insurance and wasn't there?
'Cause they
Them
did it
being
for a
on the city
while.
equipment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. depending.
Okay, which brings up another question. I think our contractors we wrote it this year said that they could use our city equipment. Does it not? And they have to be qualified or so do we not have the insurance issues anymore?
Well, I thought the equipment was just the coolers, but that's what that meant.
Yeah, so I thought.
We've discussed this in the past and it's kind of been, and I don't know that we have insurance
Maybe we
issues,
should.
but it's more like issues, and Todd's brought this up too. Who's competent? And it's been left up that, like, say myself or whomever, if we needed help, would decide who's competent to operate what piece of equipment and who might not be a danger to themselves operating a piece of equipment, and put it that way. But as far as that, I don't think we have insurance or liability issues as far as not hourly paid employee. But it's who's going to be operating the equipment, and then if they break it, who's fixing it? So who decides who operates the
Good point
equipment?
there too.
I would say I do.
So where's the liability to the contract employee that's using our equipment?
What are they using though?
Well, the mower is what,
Like if we gave them a
what I was
drill
thinking
on
of.
mower.
Will they be using our city boat?
Back the mower into a lake last year.
Because broke down right now we
Or
are
a
gonna
slide.
have a boat,
Yeah.
so they can use that.
Yeah, they're using our boat too. It needs work, by the way.
Yeah, so see,
So,
Well, I don't,
ram businesses, what does that take in terms of startup? Like, I don't know. I mean, you know,
Startup, I don't know. I mean,
Figure
on
it
the
out.
retail side, I mean, if you're looking at retail, I mean, if you're
that's what
gonna,
I'm saying, I guess.
I mean, the number 40,000 was thrown out. Okay, we're looking to say 4,000 gross for 6 months is 24,000. I mean, if you're averaging, you know, a 40% margin, I mean, you're going to look at about $1,600 a month, maybe, free and clear. And that's if you're getting a portion from the city, hopefully you're paying your wages for other people to work with the city's money, and you're getting a little bit. So in 6 months, you make, I don't know, 60-some $100, 7,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, is that worth it?
When you
I don't know.
say startup,
Well,
what you talking about from the ground floor starting up, or are you talking about a building that's established, everything's already out there, the
you have
coolers,
to buy the
electricity,
inventory.
all we're doing is buying inventory, so our startup would not be as high.
yeah, I guess I'm talking about the effort it would take to get into the retail end of things and, you know, getting the contacts with the vendors, getting, you know, set up on their systems, getting,
Point of sale.
yeah. And I mean, that's
Pricing.
through Astra. So I think we'll have, you know, we even have Square as a backup, but
training
know,
on
that- yeah. So whose time and effort goes into completing those steps and building those relationships, setting up those charge accounts? I don't think there'll be an operating loan because the city is, you know,
That lady right there has got all the connections.
there you go. But that's,
But I wouldn't hire anyway because it'd be a conflict of interest.
I
yeah.
can tell you who to talk to, but I'm not doing it because I don't want to cause any problems
most
for
of,
anybody.
I'd say most of the vendors, if they're any good, are gonna come to you. They already deliver to the lake, they deliver ice to the lake, they deliver beer to the lake, they deliver other products.
Does a bait shop sell ice?
Liver. Oh, yeah.
Not taking competition away from you, but
No, they do.
There's an ice machine there.
Yeah.
okay.
There's
That's
a
not-
city ice freezer out there. Yeah, a big one. They sell a lot of ice.
Okay. I would think they would sell a lot too.
Is it a conflict of interest for this, if we wanted to hire him to work out there at the bait house?
Who?
They were sitting around this table,
It would be.
Yeah.
except for the hourly people.
Yeah, if they're an employee, you can't. So it's an incompatibility of office.
So you can never have an employee that works for the city that sits on the council?
Nope.
How did Dave Bisnet do that?
I have no idea. I don't know
Dave
who that
Bisnet,
is.
did he sit on council? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Dave.
Dave
Not
was.
while he
Not
worked
Matt.
here, did
Well,
he?
not Matt.
What did he do?
Was he employed here as a city employee at the same time? He has
When?
about
At the
two
same
people
time.
saying, yeah.
Pretty sure. Pretty
How
sure
long has
that's
he
what
been
Julie
gone?
told
He's
me.
been gone 15 years at least.
Yeah.
Wasn't on my
it's been a long
watch.
time.
Well, I'm just saying, I think he's been
we're
dead
at
a long
the top
time.
one.
I guess I didn't know he was on the council. Yes.
You're living and dying on my dime, man.
Dime.
So I'm saying if that occurred, how did that happen?
Well, the rule is that you can be an employee, but the instant you're hired by, you forfeit your office. And if you're an employee and you're elected, you lose your job.
Yeah.
If you're,
So if that happened, how did that happen without that?
it shouldn't have happened.
Irrelevant.
Yeah. All I can say is it
Now it
shouldn't.
is.
Yeah.
The statute
Yeah,
of limitations is passed.
It's done.
I don't know if that's Gary Hansen or whoever, but it's not
Well, he may not have known about it. You know that. I
Gary knew everything.
don't know. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do we want to sweeten the pot and go a little above the 20,000 to try to get somebody to maybe reapply or?
I think that's a good idea. I've thought
I
about
do.
that too, because like I think we're all in agreement. It's probably too late for us to go buy inventory and start getting things moved up. Like you said, get with vendors and get things brought in here, and then hire somebody and supervise that somebody, or hire a supervisor to watch that person who's supposed to be there at 6 a.m. that doesn't show up.
Need somebody's plural too, because
Oh,
you
yeah. 2 or
couldn't
3 people a day.
guarantee
Right.
one
Yeah,
employee.
I wouldn't do. I
Yeah.
personally wouldn't. If I were to hire, it wouldn't be one person that
Right.
works 6 to 10 and one person works 10 to 9.
Right.
It'd be one working 6 to 10, another one might work 10 to 2. I'd break it up if I had to, whatever it took to get the people in there. If it's too hot in the day for them to be out there from 2 to 5, then they can work the 5 to 9 shift or some crap like that. But
Well, people, each person different.
The hours
But-
are
People-
long already.
yeah, I know
Air
that.
conditioner.
So I have to agree with
And
Michelle.
honey,
Let's,
I'm
Mental note that, Mike.
I'm
There's
retired. I don't get
too
up
hot in the time of day.
I'd have to get
It's
up
not
with
doing anything outside.
Hey,
to be able to make it
sidebars are
there by
going. Let's
6.
try to stay focused,
No.
please. Let's let one person talk. I have to agree with Annie. When a while ago she said, "Hey, there's 5 different questions being thrown at me, and I can't answer them." So let's
She
try to
deserved all 5.
stay focused a little bit on this. So I have that we sweeten the pot, see if we can, and put the word back out to the 2 or 3 people that had originally put in a bid, and see if that would entice them a little bit.
Okay.
And then let's start working on this like in maybe August or September next year for the following year, instead of waiting until after the new mayor gets elected to do anything about it.
Well, that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. And I don't have a problem with requiring whoever takes the bait shop to give us a dollar figure of what they're making. If we can put that in their contract, I think we need to do that. It would better help us determine.
Did you have the Astro reports now this time?
We'll have Astro, so it should be doing that for us, right?
Well, the only problem I have is cash deals that are being made out there.
It still goes through the system.
Renting the bait shop for $100 for the weekend, paid in cash, goes through the system. Or renting the
Sorry.
shelter house
I was like,
out for $100 cash on holiday weekend. Goes
Not
through
even
the-
like the city stuff,
Again,
but
any
like
business
their
dealings,
product.
we have to have
Yeah.
some trust somewhere. There's no way we can
Okay.
micro everything.
Okay. We'll
I'm just
get
saying.
this. We'll get this.
It's not about microing, it's about addressing the situation when it comes to us that there's a problem, and we never do that, really. I mean, that issue right there is one that I'm just bringing up. Here's another thing. Somebody was supposed to get reimbursed back that money for renting that very shelter house and still hasn't got that money. And we all sat here and said they should get it.
And was
We didn't
and
cross-reference
if
back
I
to
remember
that.
right, it was directed that this money be refunded.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I can tell, I'm not going to say it. I'm out of line. I'm not going to say it right here. We'll say it in executive session. Thank you very much. Bite my tongue.
Okay.
So let's move on, okay? Because we can beat this horse to death, and we're not going to get it solved tonight. As far as, but
So
let's
do you want
sweeten
to
the
up it
pot.
to like 23,000, 24,000? What?
Would you take offers from them? Wouldn't,
Yeah.
you guys have made an offer,
Mhm.
say,
Yeah.
we're
Counter.
accepting counter offers
Yeah.
for, please put it in the structure, some structure, payment along the lines of what's in the agreement, but the total number is yours pick, and we'll start entertaining offers.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to go within reason, because if you have people out there, I mean, that's what the market is. The market's giving you a signal. The
Yeah.
amount you offered was not good enough.
Right.
Now,
And
let's
right
get
now-
a signal
In
back.
there that,
And
that was a turn off.
quite honestly, right now, we don't really have much of a choice. We're running out of time fast. We're running out of time very fast. And we're potentially
right.
losing money every day that we don't open. So if we end up paying somebody a high price because of our procrastination in getting this thing going, that's on us. That's on us. I'll take the blame for not even getting this started when I took over in January. I mean, it doesn't matter where the buck stops. It can stop here. I don't care. But the point is, we've got to do something. So let's come up with a number. I like what Todd says. Let them offer us,
Mhm.
and we can say yay or nay.
So that would probably be the motion, is just to say that you can have, I guess,
I'll
the
reach
clerk,
out. Yep.
just say the clerk that we're accepting, that the city's accepting, counter offers on the amount.
And I would reach out to the ones that have denied. I would let them go about doing it just like everybody else. Like, because why do we need to give them special treatment by going and hitting them on the
Only
back
because-
saying,
only
"Oh,
because
come
they've
back
showed
and
an
give us
interest.
a thing now."
So re
Only
put up
because they showed an
flyers,
interest.
re put
Yes.
up Facebook posts is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would say that it's open to everybody.
It is
But
open to
then-
everybody, yes.
But then you're saying
But-
also reach
But
out.
I'm saying reach out to the ones that have showed an interest.
You're saying not to do that?
But just
Yeah.
because they showed an interest and we reach out to them doesn't mean we have to accept what they counter with.
Yeah.
You know, Todd could come up with somebody and that person said, well, I understand that, I mean, he wouldn't tell them what the offers were, but I'm making this offer here to do it. And it's better than what we're getting from somebody that showed an interest. By all means, we'll take the best one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like closed bid.
Okay, so
Yeah.
a motion has to be made on an offer. We can second it and we can discuss it, okay?
Mhm.
Do you want to wait till Tim gets back or do you want to get it started?
Yeah, that's probably good to wait for Tim.
Okay.
Do we have any idea when Astra is going to be up and running? Because even if we hire someone,
When we get
When we get somebody,
we're waiting on that.
unless you guys want to move to open a bank account that's specified for the bait shop, we can't actually start Astra without that bank account.
but we could today if we had somebody.
No. Let me understand what Andy
Or
just
I
said.
mean, tomorrow,
The
because
pe-
tomorrow's the 15th. So tomorrow, if somebody comes in and we hired somebody and went on their phone, immediately we can
No.
start getting it up.
No. It's
Okay, so there is
training.
a time lapse. So there's training of how.
Yeah, training, and then this is just a packet of information that we're passing back to them, and I'm sure there's more things to
There's gonna
finish.
be, yeah.
But I think this is the bulk of the paperwork that we're working on.
So Andy, did you say we could go ahead and open the bank account for the bait shop?
Yeah, if you wanted to get Astra off the ground right now, then we could open a bank account for the bait shop that the person would use. We can change it. It doesn't.
Okay, I agree with
Lock
what you're saying.
anything.
I think we should go ahead and open it.
Okay.
I
So
think we should
that'd be
too.
one thing down.
It's one thing down, and if there's any kinks or problems we've got, we get them out of the way now and not 2 weeks from now when something else happens.
Fine.
So if we
Then-
do that, I need like an exact how this is all gonna be set up because I was foggy on it last time. I'm not gonna lie.
Well,
So
will we transfer like X amount out of the lake fund into this account for like short-term operating expenses, or is that kind of?
No, we don't put any money in it. The bait shop contractor would put all the money in.
Well,
But
okay,
the bait
that's
shop
if that was the
contractor
case.
was
Okay.
basically given a $2,500 check, basically 2 weeks after they've been out there working so that they could have money to supply the bait
Okay.
shop.
In that
So we
case-
are basically financing them in a way,
Okay.
but we're not financing. Does that make sense?
Okay, I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
city operate, but yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
no, I think we're away from the city operating it for this year.
okay. Well, period, the end, or?
No, I'm not gonna
Okay.
say,
Period. The
Yeah.
end.
no. not
Yeah, I
at
mean,
the end.
I don't know, yeah.
After
I don't-
Astor comes back and shows we made the bait shop made 50,000 on top of what we gave them. Are we going to offer them 20,000 next year? Or are we going to try to make a better deal? I think we're going to try to make a better deal some way or another.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that, but that's neither here nor there at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know,
So Tim, while you were gone, we voted to let you be the bait shop supervisor, and I'll go get the food and you do all the work. And it passed 4-0.
Can I pull my camper out there and stay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Camp house, let's
You can
go.
fish all you want to during the hours that you're supposed to be working. Okay, no, that didn't happen. But what we did decide on was that a motion has to be made, and then a second, and then we can discuss what we're going to do. And basically, the motion needs to be we're
The
going
motion would
to
be to advertise for counter offers for contract bait operator.
I moved to that.
Todd can't make the motion.
But he moved, but he didn't adopt
He
it.
moved, yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, now any discussion on this? Tim, you made the motion. You're first up. Any discussion on that? Any further discussion on what that motion's about?
Maybe we want a date to submit it.
By the next meeting.
Yesterday.
Yeah, I understand, but the next meeting is probably right. So by the
Mm.
28th,
yeah, I
Could-
mean I can
could
get it
we-
everywhere except the paper.
Since we're having
I mean, I can get
conversation,
it
I
in
will,
paper, but-
well, I'm sorry. I will point out that I'm a very big fan of having the operator stay at the lake. Whether we have to pay somebody and we run it, I like having somebody there.
I would entertain paying somebody more for that, but I would also take somebody that's just gonna run it right. I like where your mind's at though, but
I like the protection.
yeah.
As a-
Well, like
Especially if we were running,
the
just to
campground
stop
goes,
somebody
you
from
know.
kicking that glass door in at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
As a
Is the person really gonna go?
side note,
Don't kick that door in.
it
Please.
doesn't have to be your bait shop runner. It can actually be like a
Exactly.
retiree who wants to be camping.
Guns blazing.
I can borrow Mike's camper and I'd have my 38.
You're hired.
There's
Now, who are we gonna-
I'm
now
sorry, you guys
who are we
work
going to get to
together.
replace her on the council?
Whoever you appoint.
Doesn't Jocko want us over June?
Yeah, Jocko. Tell him to stay warm
Are
here.
you kidding me? Let me touch
Okay, we
this.
have a motion on the floor to entertain, blah, 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 blah.
Yep, I got it. We're gonna
Okay, written down.
advertise. Yep.
Okay.
And the date is by the 28th, 5 o'clock.
Could I make a suggestion, since we're meeting the 21st anyway for a work session? I don't know, if the opportunity presents itself, we change that to a special meeting
To hire someone.
with an official agenda and actionable and all that stuff, and then we could do that at the tail end of
The
that
21st,
talk.
the 21st
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
So should I
It's
just
already
go ahead and
taken
make it a
place.
special meeting?
No,
No.
no.
Well, can we
Not
make it a
unless-
special meeting and then cancel it the last second like we did last time?
Well, you can adjourn, you can always adjourn a meeting to any other date. So what you're gonna be there for the other thing, right?
On the
So it's
21st.
an hour and a half, 4 to 5:30, and then the work session's 2 hours. So now you're looking at 3.5 hours.
But the
Yeah.
problem with the
The-
not
thing is gonna
scheduling
take
it
an
is
hour
you
and
have
a
to have
half,
3 days, right? You have to have 3 days notice.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying there's 3.5 hours
Well, I'm-
before you can do that interview.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
already one. I mean, you have to know.
I don't know, I'm just
I disagree
coming
with
from the
that.
standpoint that it gets filled faster, potentially, if there's any interest.
Why would we have to wait till after the work session
Yeah.
to interview the people or something along this line? Why do we have to wait 3.5 hours? If this work session doesn't last that long, why do we have to wait 2 more hours for it to end before we can do anything?
Well, you wouldn't, but I'm assuming that it's gonna run 2 hours.
And what are we discussing at that work session? Just what comes out of the people walking around town for an hour and a half? And you think there's gonna be 2 hours of questioning going on in that? Seriously?
Look at the last work session.
No, the last, no, you can't go by that. Yeah, I'm talking, because we're looking specifically at what these people are going to do when they come down here on the 21st.
And I'm talking specifically how we talk and go things out. I mean, it's 9 o'clock now. So odds are it's gonna take time.
Well, I think that I'll start smacking this thing when we get out of hand a lot more often than I have. The only reason I didn't do it tonight is I don't want to smash my crackers. But you're right, we do need people talking when other people are trying to get a point across. We take 2 hours to get through it. So yeah, I have to get a handle on that. So just be aware. I'll start smacking the thing, making you jump when you fall asleep, Michelle.
Oh darn.
Okay, so
Goes my name.
let's, any further discussion on,
I guess it's still gonna say, when is it, the deadline? Is it on the 28th?
Well,
Time.
yeah, shoot, I don't know.
Isn't it just till we get somebody?
I guess what I was thinking was, as far as the special meeting versus work session, we're already doing it as a work session. Of course, there's times, we can call a special meeting in the middle of the week or whatever, and we can call it kind of on a moment's notice, with the, that little signature page or whatever. So if the opportunity presents itself and we have, actionable items that we can discuss at that meeting, being the contract or whatever, somebody's interested, then we call a special meeting and it just takes the place of the work session in that time. So that's
work for you, Todd?
That's fine. You can notice it as a special meeting to the 2 subjects on there. The first subject is hiring a person, and then you take care of that before you talk for 2 hours about
Anything else?
talk.
yeah, do that too.
Be a brief pause.
Mike,
and
were you
then-
outside?
So then if you sign that.
So then you're gonna make those people.
Well, you still have to give, you have to give,
Well, Brad didn't make
who
enough
wants
noise all the
notice?
time to get here.
I am.
Oh,
I thought that was a.
well, it's the 3 days is an open meetings notice for people who have requested, specifically requested notice.
Well, I didn't know
Yep, that's the rule.
that. Okay. Well then.
Good to go.
Okay.
So by the time of the special meeting, what time is that? I mean, what's 21st?
It was 5:30.
At 5
Was
o'clock.
the work session? So
Yes, it would be 5:30.
Yeah.
Well, we're just saying, just so everybody can make sure that gets counteroffers, please, are to be submitted by 5 o'clock on the 21st.
Okay.
okay.
And that's in your motion.
That is absolutely in my motion.
Which means it won't be in the paper then, or can you get that in the paper?
If she can get in,
Isn't
I,
Isn't it like Tuesday at 10?
maybe, I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of.
She's been
early,
iffy, like on my minutes and stuff. Like sometimes she has a hard time getting them in this week, and she moves into next week. I'll ask her. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
I'll ask her first thing.
It comes out on Thursdays, is that right?
Yeah, I think Wednesday is actually when it's printed. So.
Okay.
But we get it on Thursday, I think.
Some people get it Wednesday.
Yeah, see, that's a. I'll ask.
Okay. Have a motion. We have a seconded. 21st by 5 o'clock. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, 5-0 on that.
So then, the bank account. Are you guys gonna go ahead and set that up?
Do we
Yeah.
need a motion to get that one approved?
Yes.
To get it
I'll
set
move
up?
to set that bank account.
And it will be a bank account that,
The contractor will eventually take over.
I second it.
Okay, we got a motion to initiate the getting the bank account for Astra, and we have a second. Any discussion?
and do I need, I'm sorry, they're gonna ask for this stuff in the minutes, like, I mean, signers, stuff like that, is it
You're-
just,
You don't have the signer because you don't have the contract, right? Who's gonna be the signer of this thing?
Can we make it Stephanie, Terry, Tim, because they already signed checks?
Well, will they just delete the signature card once the contractor uses it? Okay, that's. They don't all have to be in.
I suggest that person
yeah, I don't know
reads
either.
that very well before they
Terry.
sign it.
okay. You,
Had a
Terry.
bad experience.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
Terry.
fine.
Steph, Terry.
It costs you to do it.
Need your signature on this.
Yes, I do. I do. Which that's not this, they're.
Okay,
All
so
right, so we get, so let's go to the vote.
I had to set alarm again.
Those in favor? Opposed? Okay, 5-0 on that. That, whatever, what that thing, jeez,
Astra account.
I think I better eat these. Okay, next thing is mayor council concerns or comment one. If Brett has one, he can finish, he can follow up. But I want everybody to know that on June 25th, which is a Saturday, I was approached today by Roger Beach, and he tells me that they've already accumulated 200 members of the church he attends. Not necessarily the church he attends, but the affiliation of the church he's with, let's put it that way. And they are going to be volunteers. They're going to come to Eskridge probably this coming week or next week, and they're going to go door to door trying to find out if people have anything they need done on their property, such as do they need help getting their yard mowed? Do they need their house painted? Cleanup, whatever they want done, these volunteers are going to do that for them on 25th. There will be no charge for them coming around to do all this work. But the reason they're coming around in the next week or two is so they know what kind of equipment that they need to come up with to get this work done. So I just want the word to get out that there's going to be people knocking on doors. You're probably going to get a call, possibility. Council members will get a call. The city will get a call. And as far as I know, we don't have anything.
They already have.
Like
Yeah,
we
so it's up on
advertise
there.
all this.
Yes.
And they've already
They've
been,
had-
they've been talking about this
Mhm.
already? Okay.
Barry Pemberton is the
Yeah.
pastor.
All right.
Is he gonna put up
He's been talking
flyers?
about it. I don't know, I
No.
haven't asked him, but I can reach out and
No
ask him.
flyers?
Well, what we were told today, and I was talking to the person at length, and then they went in and talked to Terry, is that all they're saying is it's 200 Baptists, and they're coming to town, and they're gonna help clean it up.
Well, that
and
church
I
isn't
asked if they
Baptist
were gonna
anymore,
put it in the
but-
paper or do this or do that, and they said no.
Maybe the cafe would be open on that Saturday,
That's
but
what it's
who
called.
knows?
It's called
New Life, but it's not.
Baptists like to eat.
But that's what
non-denominational.
I know, but that's the way they're
I'll ask
What
Barry.
Outlets are any different. Come on.
Anyways, yeah, I will ask Barry about.
Brett, you're up.
I just wanted to know, like, Sally isn't here, so she'd be a better one. But we had houses that we had sent letters before, and we haven't checked back in with them or forced any of the issues of compliance. So I need to get the ball rolling with those again, and maybe add some potential properties to that list here in town.
I do want to say that today I went to walk with my niece, and there's a house that's been down the street for me for years, but it now currently has broken windows. And you can get into, or animals could get into the house through the broken windows. And they were not broken in years past, but they are now. So,
If you let me know who it is, I could probably reach out to the owner.
well, it's the one up there on, I believe it used to be Cindy's house, Limbacher's house across the street from Danny Hughes.
It's the trailer house.
Trailer house.
Gotcha, I think that's still hers.
And the window, there are,
The grass has been bad.
there is one window completely out and several others shattered, so I just thought.
Why didn't it was all the ones
I
on
can
our list,
ask
just
Sally. I
never
talked to
mind.
her today, and
Tucked away,
she's
never
still
gave
really
away.
busy with all the stuff going on. So I don't know. I mean, but
And she probably will be busy for a while, but if we could, at least the properties that we have in limbo that we have already sent letters out for to be,
it'll all have to be done again. I think. I mean, it'll be like pictures and
What is
like
the,
as far
I
as
mean,
which ones that are in limbo. Like what-
you already sent the note, the preliminary notice letters. That's what we're talking about. You're in violation of the city code. You need to do X, Y, Z. Right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. All
Well, is it
where
just-
we are in limbo, I guess.
Well, I mean that if you got those done, then unless you, I mean, if somebody wants to just go there and say, yeah, it's still that way, I mean, then you can start the process.
First letter where they need to request a hearing.
Well, they might have a right. I had, without looking into the letter, I don't know, but because it varies by violation.
Yeah.
so there's a time period to where when you don't act, everything that you've done becomes null and void and you have to redo it again.
No,
No,
no. It's just
The only
like
one that
the-
would be null and void is the fact that if you send a letter for mowing, it only is good for the calendar year.
But if you send it for junk or
Yeah, it's still a-
safety violations
still
of the
it's abated.
house or broken windows, and it's 2 years later and still nothing's done, we can still go back on
Yep.
what it's done.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
As long as it's not corrected. I have one thing to add.
So can I request that those places have letters that, again?
Well, but I mean, if the city officer has to sign those and send them. If they've already been sent, then the next step is resolutions usually. Again, it depends on what the violation is. Several violations have several procedures. So, but every one of those, if the initial letter went out and gave them the proper notice, then the next step is that you guys usually have a resolution that's passed that calling them to in here, either to correct it within 30 days or you issue the order. So you don't need Sally for that, other than the fact that somebody's going to be watching to see if it gets fixed, maybe.
All right. Well, I just wanted to check on that and wanted to get the ball rolling with some of that. The other thing I was going to touch on that Annie was talking about, the playground equipment and the base for the playground equipment. No, we've not really talked extensively as to where the $115,000 is going to be spent that we got from the sale of the apartments. And since that pour and play is a big chunk of money, I would like us to consider using some of that for the base of the playground. We don't have to talk about it. I just wanted to throw it out there to everybody to think of till the next meeting. Of course, not all of it, but
I would like to use some of it to replace that wall that we have to have in the swimming area. And we
I
can
would
afford it.
prefer all
I
of
think
it
they both
spent
fit.
in Eskridge, but I mean,
I think they both fit under that if we want to go that road.
I want to take care of that building first. That needs done. I'm tired of beating that
That's
dead
true, too.
horse. I'm
Speaking of
just,
that,
and if there's money left over, great. Let's start doing stuff. But you know,
True.
we've
We
got.
do need to take care of
I don't know.
real quick,
That's-
if I may.
Go on,
On-
Mike.
You mentioned that
You may
building.
not.
Sorry, just real quick. One time, somebody mentioned, I wasn't at the meeting, that they maybe wanted me to look into putting together a sheet of requirements for taking that down. Is that still something possibly getting
Yeah,
it?
I don't know.
Just
I mean, we were just.
again.
Yeah, we need it to in order to quote the job out. Yes.
Right,
So
okay.
please.
Yeah.
Like the consensus is still probably taking it down,
Yes.
or making it
That was the
space that could be used
recommendation
again.
that was
Okay.
made.
Yeah.
Once again, not a firm decision, but to go through the work to do that. Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, what needs
That-
to be
that
done
was-
as far as the sewer doesn't the
Yeah, all of that,
Next
you know, and
building
I mean,
grade.
and I'm not by any means professional, but just what people have said. I mean, basically a sheet of requirements. This stuff all has to be addressed.
Yeah.
You tell us how you're going to address all the problems,
And how
then
much.
we fact check it and make sure that those are adequate means of doing it.
Yeah.
By no means.
And with
No
that brown
architect or
thingy,
engineer.
do that too.
What's that?
Those brown, whatever these people are that come around walking around, would they
Brown
help with that too?
Brownfield.
Well, let's stop right there.
Brownfield.
Okay.
That's not what you meant.
I mean, I will be honest with you. I called that lady because I said, there's buildings in town in Esk Region. I'm interested in buying one of them. What kind of money are you gonna give me? And she said, none. She says, I will possibly give you money to tear it down. Or I will give you money to, clean it up. But I will give you no
Didn't she
money.
stand right here and say that they wouldn't tear buildings down?
Yes,
Because that's what I
Yeah,
heard.
and that's the thing. And then you get into, we'll bring the EPA and we'll do this, we'll do these studies. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, no, we're not going to tear your building down. But now
Here's
we've
what
got
you
the
have to
feds
do
on you
this.
that say
Yeah.
this, and you have this time frame to come up with the money
Yeah.
and do it.
Yeah.
That's I was
One
like,
thing I've
be
learned from all this grant research is read the fine print because
Violation
it's
of
not
section-
always worth it.
I've had two separate conversations with people that have talked to this lady after she came in here on January 10th and told us what all they were going to do. And both of them gave me two different answers as to what they were going to do. And none of it had anything to do with the night she was here.
Yes.
So that's why I'm telling the public, if you've got some questions for these people, be here on the 21st and you ask them directly and let us all hear what's going on.
She said they're not in the business of tearing them down. They like to preserve them, but there is no money for you to have a startup. There is no money for you to build it or whatever. We are just simply a cleanup. But there are other grants that you can go for later on other money, but not my money that I'm talking about.
So what is it that we're really getting from her? That's what we need to find out
Right.
next Monday night.
Of course, we can get the building for a little bit of nothing, and pair it with a grant to clean something up. You might have
Well,
Something that's
their money,
marketable.
their free money is for cleanup.
yeah, but
So sell me the IGA for $1. I'll get her to clean it up for free and I'll sell it on the market 2 weeks after it's done for $10,000. Thank
They
you
might
very
take
much.
you up
Yeah.
on that offer.
I don't know.
Sorry, Todd, if I interrupted you.
You said $1.
No, but I can't.
I vote to
It's a-
accept Terry.
I second.
It's it's a conflict of interest for me to
Yeah.
buy it. I will not buy it. I will not buy it. My wife will not buy it.
Mayor who gave the park.
Are we ready for my executive?
Sold
No, I have one real quick thing I want to throw out here. We
The
had a
reason we
fish
have the
meeting.
park is because the mayor sold it to the town.
Oh,
We had our meeting for the fish, Jerry and I, and Charlie Wallace. And I want to have more information before I'm going to bring that up.
Well, he was supposed to bring it up
Okay.
tonight, so I'm trying to get him.
Anyway, bottom line is we ended up deciding to go with $3,000 worth of channel cat, $2,000 worth of crawdads to feed the fish. But since that meeting, I have spoken with Eli Sprinkle, the biologist, who has taken care of a lot of this, and I haven't talked to him yet about this. I'm thinking we might change and buy more channel cat and less crawdads, but I don't know yet. But that's pretty much where we are right now. As it is right now, I told him I wanted channel cat and crawdads.
Is it a better deal to get crawdads then, as far as they say 10 pounds of minnows will convert to like a pound of fish or something, whatever that is. Is it a better deal to get crawdads than fish, or?
Well, the thing is both Charlie and Eli told me that no matter what feed you put in there, it's not going to sustain anything. It's just you're going to feed them for a little while.
Yeah.
And the crawdads won't take in Lake Wabaunsee. Eli has tried and done several samplings. There are a few in there, but if they would flourish like you would expect them in a rocky dam, then they'd be there, but they just aren't. So anyway, I am definitely open for more comment, or not at this time, as you said, another day.
Right.
And you say that you and Jerry doing the talking, or was there other people involved?
Oh, there
no,
were
we
plenty
had
of
a
people. We
meeting
had a
and
meeting.
there was probably
Is it-
25 people.
Is this
there.
people from the lake having this meeting?
This goes
Most
back
of them were from the lake, yes.
Yeah, I think
the money they raised from their golf tournament.
Mhm.
That's what they were all meeting about.
And Wayne Stevenson was there, who used to be, I guess, on the council. I think he was a big player in stocking the lake many years ago. He helped with the state when they were doing a lot of surveying, fish sampling, all that kind of stuff out there. And in fact, he's the one who helped start the smallmouth bass out there that took off and did very well, considering they dumped like 100 of them in there. And when we shocked the lake, we got one that was 4 ounces less than the state record. So
Amazing small.
they're doing well.
So the money that you're talking about, where's that coming from?
The money that we got was from a golfing tournament, and a lot of people, including the city, put in some money too, and LWID put in some money.
So is the city of
Yeah, so
Eskridge
we-
putting in money?
They did.
Yeah.
We put-
Are we
donated.
forecasting putting in money this year as well? Is that where you're going with this?
No,
It was
not
last
at
year's
all.
expenditure.
Not at all.
Okay, okay.
Just letting you know where the money is,
I'm just trying
what
to get
the
an
money is
idea.
doing.
That's fine, sure.
that we put in.
Appreciate that.
I'd like to suggest that we put in a few grass carp too, but
It's been what this will be year 3, I think.
has it
We put some in, yeah.
been that? I thought it was longer than that.
It's either year 3 or year 4. Yeah.
About how
it's
long
been a
they
while.
last, or
It depends. The heavier the water runs, they like to travel downstream too, kind of like the walleyes. So we've had quite a few rains, but
It's been about 12 years since they put a lot of sawguy in the lake. Because sawguy stay put. Not the only way you can get sawguy is through the state, because there's not a farm that raises them. And they're yummy.
And the state's kind of been upset with us since when they wanted to come in and make it a state lake, and we wouldn't let them do that.
From
They got upset
the
with us.
attitude I got from Eli, that might have been a little over exaggerated by the person that was telling us that, but doesn't matter. It's all water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Moving forward, we might work with them.
Well, it's not that we wouldn't want to.
Absolutely. When they can do a fish sampling every other year for free.
but he hasn't. That's the thing.
Because he couldn't.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any concerns you want to bring up?
Sorry, I need to go home.
Executive session, 15 minutes. Turn clock.
I moved to that. Executive session, 15 minutes, attorney client.
Second.
All in favor? 4-1 in favor.
Okay. Well, I'll watch the light goes
I'll
off.
make it
Wait,
5
4 to
to
1.
nothing.
run across the hole first.
Okay, well, let's make it start at 25.
Okay.
Hurry.
Oh, I'll let you guys shut the door. Okay. Justin can't come back.
Can I go out?
You must have. Hey,
Sorry.
speaking of the watch page, somebody said there were some teenagers going.
Yeah, I know he got a text too. That's why I went out and looked. And I
Oh,
ran
but-
back to cameras. I
She
don't think
must.
so.
They must have been gone already. Oh, okay.
Jamie sent that to you too.
Nope. Somebody put it on.